You were kissed forcefully by the campus belle during a game of truth or dare. You initially thought she was just completing a dare, but it wasn't until she tried to pry open your teeth that you realized something was wrong. What you never expected was that you were the man she was determined to possess again, even in this second life. In her past life, when she was at her lowest, you were the one who pulled her out of that dark time. From then on, you two began a life of shameless intimacy. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last. She was involved in a car accident on the eve of your wedding, resulting in the loss of your daughter. On the day of the wedding, she put on a white gown and tearfully jumped off a building to follow you. Little did she know that the heavens, in a great act of mercy, had sent her back to her 20-year-old self. Now, seeing the young and innocent you, she decided to take the initiative, hoping to recapture your happy life together sooner. The current gathering was the perfect opportunity. She immediately answered the host's question. "I choose dare." As soon as she said that, all the goblins in the audience got collectively excited. A series of inappropriate images flashed through their minds. At this time, the host, also wearing a lewd look, flipped over the card in his hand. The dare punishment was to offer your fragrant kiss to one of the boys present. The whole venue erupted. All the goblins were desperately pointing at themselves, eager to be chosen. However, in the next moment, Qin Yue walked straight towards you. She bent her soft waist in front of you, letting the endless cleavage visible from her neckline fall right into your view. Before you could even recover, you heard her sweet voice lingering in your ear. "Sumu, may I kiss you?" In an instant, her words made the jaws of all the goblins drop to the floor. You too were speechless, unable to utter a single word. Qin Yue just blushed slightly, naturally tucked a strand of smooth hair behind her ear and asked pitifully, "Sumu, are you unwilling to help me?" In truth, for her, this dare was no risk at all. It was a natural and logical way to approach you and, incidentally, tease her younger husband. The feeling was simply too good, especially since her 20-year-old body now housed a 30-year-old soul. Hearing this, you scratched your head, blushing. No, I'm not unwilling, it's just a bit." Seeing your reaction, Qin Yue covered her mouth and chuckled softly. She absolutely loved how shy you were just from a little teasing. The thought of having many more such opportunities made her look forward to them immensely. Seeing the campus belle, Qin Yue's unexpected enthusiasm, the goblins widened their eyes and kept exclaiming in shock. But Qin Yue couldn't be bothered with them. She was determined to have her way today. Even if Jesus himself came, he wouldn't stop her. She bent down again, pouting her small mouth in front of you, giving you no chance to refuse. Watching that rosy little mouth get closer and closer and worried about becoming the entire school's public enemy, you quickly picked up a piece of paper from the table and held it in front of your mouth, saying, "Well, okay, but I think it would be better with a tissue in between." Seeing this, Qin Yue raised a knowing, amused smile. "My husband is too innocent. All right, if that's what you want, I'll go along with you." Sumu. She then closed her beautiful eyes, clasped her hands naturally behind her back, and brought her red lips closer to you. However, just as the many goblins were wishing they could kick you out of the way and take your place, Qin Yue suddenly lost her balance. She pitched violently forward, simultaneously reaching out and snatching the tissue from your mouth. Before you could react, a pair of red lips was imprinted on yours. You immediately felt the peach-like lipstick and the firm, elastic touch. For a moment, your mind was filled only with the image of a volcanic eruption. Qin Yue, however, kept her eyes tightly closed, looking utterly blissful, occasionally letting out soft moans. She even tried to use her tongue to pry open your teeth. This was unexpected, and though you weren't familiar with her, you still pushed her away, blushing. Her saliva and lipstick remained on your mouth. Qin Yue clearly felt it wasn't enough. She innocently asked, "What's wrong, Sumu?" You swallowed hard and said, I think that's enough for now. If I didn't push you away, my little brother would have run away from home. Besides, there's a huge crowd of onlookers around us." Hearing this, Qin Yue playfully stuck out her tongue. "Sumu, your face is so red. Are you in heat? Or is this your first kiss?" Having successfully stolen her young husband's first kiss, Qin Yue curved her mouth into a triumphant smirk. Your face was now red all the way to your ears. This is indeed my first kiss. Although you had fantasized about it countless times, this was a little too stimulating. How could such a good thing happen to you? Seeing this, Chen Yue burst out laughing. That's quite a coincidence, Sumu. This is my first kiss too, you know? Her smile was enough to make anyone's heart flutter. The second half of the party turned into a two-person show for you and Chen Yue. You were either being intimate or on your way to being intimate. This caused the crowd to disperse in displeasure, and the event ended hastily. As you walked on the sports field, hostile gazes were constantly being thrown your way, making you feel very uncomfortable. You touched your lips, and your expression involuntarily softened. Just as you were recalling the soft, elastic texture of Chen Yue's small mouth, a voice cut in. Yue, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Let me walk you home. A man was there, warmly greeting Chen Yue. You followed the voice and saw Chen Junfeng, the captain of the neighboring department's basketball team. You looked back at Chen Yue, whose face was filled with cold indifference, as if she were treating Chen Junfeng like air, a terrifyingly cold demeanor. But then, Chen Yue suddenly spotted you. Her cold little face instantly lit up. Sumu, wait for me, she said, running toward you. Seeing her approach, you quickly turned and walked toward the main gate. Don't see me, don't see me. Hey Sumu, why are you walking so fast? Qin Yue called out, quickly catching up and blocking your path. She pouted. You're not trying to avoid me, are you? Caught red-handed, you could only force an awkward smile, hastily explaining that you just hadn't heard her. No sooner had you finished speaking than Chen Junfeng followed up behind you. Yue, who is this? Why are you being so friendly to him? Qin Yue ignored him again. She naturally looped her arm through yours. Sumu, it's late, and it won't be safe for me to go home alone. Why don't you walk me back? At her words, Chen Junfeng, along with the surrounding students, gasped. What's going on? Is the goddess actually with that utterly ordinary guy? Little did they know, this was exactly what Qin Yue wanted. Your mind was a blank. Looking at the way Qin Yue had both hands wrapped around your arm, you were momentarily speechless. I don't think that's a good idea. After all, we're probably not going the same way. You tried to pull your arm out of her embrace, but suddenly felt her grip tighten. Qin Yue smiled faintly. It's fine. If I'm with you, Sumu, every road is the right road. Oh no, now I'm really going to be the public enemy of the academy. Chen Junfeng, seeing the person he was desperate to court now clinging to someone else, couldn't help but get angry. Yue, what is the meaning of this? He was ignored by Qin Yue yet again. She looked at you with a pitiful expression. Sumu, would you really have the heart to let me go home alone? If something were to happen to me, that's not... You frowned. I just think that between us, it's not really... Sumu, let's go home. She took your hand and started walking toward the school gate. At this moment, Chen Junfeng grabbed your shoulder. His handsome face twisted into a snarl. Yue, I don't know what I did wrong to make you find some nobody like him to make me angry. Hearing this, your eyebrows furrowed instantly, and your hands clenched into fists. But before you could react, Qin Yue spoke first. Let go of him! There was even a hint of murderous intent in her beautiful eyes. Her single shout made Chen Yunfeng withdraw his hand. He looked at her in disbelief and said, What? I don't believe it. You were also doubting your own ears. What had you done to deserve the campus belle, Qin Yue, defending you? Whether you believe it or not is your business, Qin Yue said mercilessly. It will be the same from now on. I will never like you. Chen Junfeng's face instantly darkened. He turned and glared fiercely at you. Listen, kid, if you're a real man, join the basketball game between our departments, the design department, and the experience department. Let's settle this. Whoever loses stays away from Qin Yue. How about it? Do you dare accept? Chen Junfeng, as the captain of the basketball team, was very confident in his skills. All right, it's a deal. Qin Yue agreed readily from the side. You looked at Qin Yue in surprise. This is the end, isn't it? She looked at you with eyes full of determination and confidence. Sumu, I believe you can do it. I'll be there to cheer you on, she said, blinking her beautiful eyes at you. At this point, you couldn't help but inwardly groan. It's over. This is truly over. Even though you enjoyed playing basketball, having a design student like you play against an experienced student's team, that was just asking for trouble. Good. Then it's settled. See you at the basketball game on Sunday." Chen Junfeng snorted, turned his face away, and walked off. "Don't worry, Sumu will definitely not lose to you, right, Su?" "Hey, Sumu, what's wrong?" Qin Yue, seeing your complex expression, couldn't help but ask anxiously, "Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" You said with a look of despair, "My blood pressure is just a little high." Seeing this, Qin Yue burst into a soft laugh. "Don't worry, to defeat that arrogant guy, let's start training together tomorrow." Hearing this, your eyes widened involuntarily. The next morning, a strikingly beautiful figure, rarely seen on the academy's basketball court, appeared. Her white, slender, long legs under her shorts were dazzling, and her tight sports bra proudly displayed her perfect figure. The only flaw was the sight-ruining guy next to the goddess. You were wearing an old jersey, gasping for breath, propping yourself up on your knees. You had been training there for most of the morning. Qin Yue felt a little heartache seeing this, but for the sake of your having a strong body, she picked up the basketball and smiled faintly. "It looks like you still need to work harder, Sumu." You smiled bitterly and agreed. "I want to work harder, but with so many hostile eyes watching from the sidelines, I just feel like I can't let loose." You thought this to yourself, but still took the basketball, ready to start training. But then, an attention seeker suddenly reached out and stole the ball. It was Yang Wei, the class's sports committee member. He ignored you completely and said with a smirk, "I'll practice with Qin Yue." Could you tolerate that? Taking advantage of Yang Wei's distraction, you snatched the ball back. "Is it fun to bully a girl? If you want to play, I'll play with you." Qin Yue's beautiful eyes filled with adoration seeing this. "As expected of the man I love in both lifetimes." Yang Wei grinned. "You've got guts, haven't you? Then let's play a one-on-one. Do you dare?" "Fine," you said with a determined look. "But if I win, you have to let me play in this basketball game." You knew it would be difficult to win, but with Qin Yue believing in you so much, how could you let her down? Yang Wei, on the other hand, burst into laughter as if he had heard a joke. "You, a **** hole, still think you can beat me? Since you're so foolish. I'll agree, I'll let you see the difference." The one-on-one game began. According to the rules, the first to score 3 baskets wins. Seeing the growing crowd of onlookers, Yang Wei became even more excited. He slapped the ball on the ground and passed it to you. "Don't say I'm bullying you. For the first shot, let me see what you've got." The next moment, you dribbled forward, looking for a chance to break through. However, Yang Wei was more seasoned. He found the perfect opportunity, successfully stole the ball, and after a, quote, friendly international gesture towards you, he scored with a standard layup. "Rookie," he sneered, returning to the three-point line. You clenched your teeth, picked up the ball, and passed it to him. You then tensed your nerves and adopted a defensive stance. Seeing this, Yang Wei gave a disdainful smile and dribbled hard, breaking through successfully. But instead of a layup, he chose a fadeaway jump shot. Unexpectedly, the ball hit the rim and bounced back. Seeing this, Qin Yue on the side breathed a sigh of relief. A miss means there's still a chance. You stood outside the three-point line, took a deep breath, and hesitated, wondering how to proceed. Qin Yue's encouraging voice rang out beside you. "Sumu, don't do what you're not good at. Just like we practiced this morning. I believe you can do it." This open favoritism instantly stunned the goblins around you. Hearing this, you seemed to remember something. You held the ball with both hands at the three-point line, giving up on a breakthrough. Seeing this, Yang Wei let out a cold laugh. "You want a three-pointer with skills like that? I'll let you shoot, but you still won't make it. You said that yourself." The next moment, your eyes were sharp as a razor. You rose onto your toes and smoothly shot the ball high into the air. Swish! A perfect swish. It went in. Qin Yue jumped up happily, her eyes curving into crescent moons. At this moment, Yang Wei's face was filled with disbelief. "What the hell? That works too." You were also surprised that you actually did it. You turned to Qin Yue with a happy look. The score was now 1-1. You continued to hold the ball and attack. "Damn you, don't get cocky. You just got lucky with that one. I don't believe you can score again." Yang Wei looked menacingly at you, resolving in his heart that he would definitely not let you shoot again this time. At this moment, Qin Yue shouted from the sidelines, "Sumu, keep breaking through. Show that big idiot." Hearing, quote, "big idiot," Yang Wei looked confused. Is she talking about me? While he was stunned, You looked at the basket and your eyes suddenly became serious. Immediately after, you took the shot. Yang Wei rushed forward to intercept, colliding with you almost at the moment the ball left your hands. Unbeknownst to you, his goal was not to block the shot, but to knock you down. With a thud, you fell hard to the ground. "Husband!" Chen Yue instantly gasped. At this cry, all the goblins had their jaws drop again. What? Did the goddess just call that guy husband? Qin Yue, however, quickly realized her slip of the tongue. She rushed to your side to check on you, her beautiful eyes filled with distress. "Sumu, are you okay?" But your gaze was fixed on the basket. The ball was spinning quickly around the rim. Suddenly, the ball fell into the basket. Swish! A burst of cheers erupted from the crowd. Yang Wei clenched his jaw tightly, and a piece of grass unexpectedly ended up in his mouth. "That's great!" Qin Yue exclaimed happily and hugged you. "One more shot, and Sumu wins." This sudden embrace made your mind short-circuit, especially the softness of her chest, which made your body stiffen. Seeing this, the surrounding goblins cried out in envy. "That cursed bastard! Not only does he get to play ball with the campus belle, but when he gets hurt, the campus belle cares for him, and now they're openly hugging." Yang Wei's face was utterly black with anger seeing this. He angrily shouted, "Hey, are you done showing off? If you're not dead, hurry up and start the next round." Qin Yue completely ignored the others' gazes. Her hands around you tightened instead. Helplessly, you had to remind her. "Yue, we should finish the game first." Hearing this, Qin Yue reluctantly let go. She then looked down at the cut on your knee with a pained expression and then turned her gaze to Yang Wei. Yang Wei, stared at by her beautiful eyes, widened his own. Her look clearly said, "If you dare to touch Sumu again, I will kill you." The next round began. Although you were leading and still the offense, being injured meant that even a normal throw was affected, let alone a physical confrontation. So you hardened your heart, dribbled backward until you reached the center line. Yang Wei sneered repeatedly. "You really are a coward. You're afraid of being stolen from, so you retreat to the center line to shoot?" Even Qin Yue hadn't expected this move. Is my husband planning to challenge himself? Isn't this too risky? However, she chose to believe in you and transformed into a fangirl on the sidelines, jumping up to cheer for you. You ignored Yang Wei. Instead, you turned to look at Qin Yue, then raised the ball, aimed at the basket, and threw the basketball out with a forceful push off your toes. A very high arc traced through the air, reflected in the pupils of the crowd on the court. Swish! The ball went right through the net. It's in! A beautiful swish. The next moment, people on the court burst into exclamations. "Holy cow, that kid actually won! Looks like the title of the best player in the design department is going to change hands." Qin Yue was also extremely surprised. She never thought you could pull that off. Yang Wei, on the other hand, had his jaw drop to the floor. Impossible! How could he possibly do that? He was utterly unwilling to believe the result. Qin Yue walked up to Yang Wei and said coldly, "What's impossible? You made a bet, you have to honor it. You need to add Sumu's name to the class team roster." "Add it, fine. But it's too late to register now. He only gets a substitute spot." Yang Wei was angry, but seeing your 3 successful shots, he grudgingly admitted you might be a talent after all, and you might have an unexpected effect on the court. He knew the odds against the school team were low. Thinking this, he stopped opposing, but for the sake of his pride, he insisted on the substitute position. Just as Qin Yue was about to object, you stopped her. After all, you would be playing together later, and you didn't want to sour the relationship too much. Calming down, Qin Yue understood your intent. She secretly clenched her teeth, determined to help her husband become stronger. Thinking of this, she quickly knelt down to check the injury on your knee. "I almost forgot! Sumu is hurt! We need to hurry to the infirmary to disinfect it." She stood up and pulled your hand, running toward the infirmary. Just like that, you two gradually disappeared from everyone's sight. Inside the infirmary, Qin Yue looked for the school nurse for a long time, but couldn't find anyone. She frowned involuntarily. Suddenly, she seemed to have an idea, and her lips curled into a smile. Since the teacher isn't here, I'll put the medicine on for you." Before you could react, Qin Yue pushed you onto a chair and said playfully, "Sumu, I'm your doctor today." Hearing this, your ears instantly felt hot. She quickly found iodine, cotton swabs, and other supplies. Then, she dipped down and knelt right in front of you. At this moment, looking at Qin Yue in this ambiguous position, you were afraid someone might suddenly walk in and misunderstand. You quickly reached out to stop her. She, however, spoke to you seriously. "I'm just putting on medicine. What are you shy about?" Seeing Qin Yue's insistence, you couldn't push her away anymore. But watching the campus belle with her head bowed down over your body, you couldn't help but feel a stirring inside. However, as the wound treatment began, you couldn't help but hiss from the sting of the alcohol and iodine. Seeing this, Qin Yue quickly looked up and said, "Just bear with it for a moment, and it'll be fine." "Okay, I know. Did I hurt you?" "It's okay. Just a little bit." "Oh, then I'll be gentler." After bandaging it up, Qin Yue brushed the hair from her lips and smiled in satisfaction. But looking at the butterfly knot she had tied on your knee, you almost couldn't maintain your composure. Yet, it unexpectedly warmed your heart. You realized you weren't actually very familiar with Qin Yue, but at this moment, you saw a side of her completely different from the whole school's impression. "She's too cute." "What is it, Sumu?" Qin Yue asked, seeing you staring at her. "Nothing, thank you." Qin Yue smiled faintly, indicating it was nothing. Then, she was about to stand up, but having knelt for so long, her legs were numb. She pitched straight into your arms. Instinctively, you reached out to steady her. The next second, your hand landed squarely on her firm, perky thigh. "So soft." Realizing what happened, you quickly let go of your hand. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." Qin Yue covered her chest and slowly stood up, smiling slightly. "Sumu, since you touched me, you'll have to take responsibility for me." Hearing this, your short-circuited mind instantly returned and you looked troubled. "I just told you I didn't mean to. I was afraid you'd fall and get hurt, that's why." But Qin Yue didn't care about any of that. She kept frowning, acting as if she had been made impure, as if you had actually done something inappropriate. However, in the next second, she couldn't hold the act. "All right, I was just teasing you." Teasing her innocent husband was something she found immensely amusing. Relieved, you also felt a sense of confusion. Something's not right. According to the normal script, shouldn't I be slapped and then cursed as a pervert? But Qin Yue was not only not angry, but smiling happily. You knew she had been taken advantage of, because the contact just now reminded her of the happiness you two shared in your past life. A sweet smile naturally appeared on her face. Seeing her like this, you couldn't help but shiver. This woman is wrong. Too wrong. But then, Qin Yue's voice came again. "Sumu, I'm hungry. Let's go eat together." You scratched your head, not wanting the awkwardness to continue. The two of you went to the school cafeteria together. All along the way, Qin Yue completely ignored the stares of others, naturally linking her arm through yours. Even while eating in the cafeteria, she was constantly serving you food. If she wasn't afraid of being overly affectionate, she would have chewed it up and fed it to you, clearly in an aggressive display of staking her claim. Time moved on to the evening. You were washing dishes at the noodle shop where you worked part-time. Tonight, you were scrubbing the dishes exceptionally fast, only because the 40-year-old proprietress was sitting there, propping up her chin with her plump white hand, staring intently at you. Her suggestive eyes and smile, coupled with the fact that it was just the two of you, a lone man and woman, made your heart race. "Aunt Wang, I've finished the dishes. I have something to do, so I'll be leaving first." "Shamo, what's the rush? Come on, chat with your Auntie Pei for a while," she said, winking at you, which sent shivers down your spine. "Aunt Wang, I really have something to do. Maybe another day." "Oh, that's a pity. I wanted to talk to you about getting a raise," Aunt Wang said, acting as if she was giving you an opportunity but you weren't grasping it. "Oh, Aunt Wang, I'm telling you, it's not that I want a raise, I just purely want to chat with you." You then sat down opposite Aunt Wang. "May I ask how much of a raise it would be?" However, the next second, Aunt Wang's plump hand, adorned with a gold ring, landed on your hand. You were instantly shocked and quickly pulled your hand back. Just as you were about to ask how much the raise would actually be, you felt a rubbing sensation on your calf. You discreetly glanced down and saw an oversized, sheer black silk ham hock rubbing against you. Your face instantly turned pale. You immediately understood. "Aunt Wang, this is a twisted kind of love. Let's talk about the raise, okay?" But Aunt Wang was relentless, continuing to bat her eyes suggestively, and once again grasped your hand with her heavy pig trotter. You tried to pull away, but suddenly realized you couldn't. What the hell is going on? Aunt Wang continued. Xiaomo, why don't you come to my room tonight, and we can talk about the raise there. At the same time, Aunt Wang's other pig trotter reached over. A sudden feeling of dread rose in your heart. However, just as you were racking your brain for an escape from her clutches, the front door was suddenly pushed open. Qinyue strode in, saying, Sumo student, I'm here. But halfway through her sentence, she saw Aunt Wang's pale, Buddha-like face, and her expression instantly turned cold. Aunt Wang sized up Qinyue, then looked at you and asked, Is this your girlfriend? You ignored the question and quickly pulled your hand away. Qinyue, it's not what you think. Qinyue just looked at Aunt Wang with hostility. Of course I came over. Otherwise my cabbage would be rooted up by a sow. At this remark, your eyes widened, while Aunt Wang was furious. She understood the implication of the words. Wasn't this a roundabout way of calling her a sow? What are you saying, you little girl? I'm talking about the sow who wants to root up the cabbage. Is that you? Well, looking at you, you certainly look like it, Qinyue sneered. Aunt Wang was now thoroughly enraged, the fat on her face trembling. Xiaomo, if you still want that raise, make her apologize to me. And today, you must choose between me and her. Hearing this, you remembered that your paycheck for the month hadn't been settled yet, and you were in a difficult position. However, the next second, you ripped off your work badge and slapped Aunt Wang across the face with it. Damn it! Didn't even get the money and almost got rooted up by an old sow. After returning home from the noodle shop, Qinyue felt she couldn't let anyone else have a chance, so she decided to accelerate the development of your relationship. She lay on the sofa, propping up her pale, delicate feet, which made you feel dry-mouthed. What are you doing? You asked. Qinyue flashed a barely perceptible wicked smile. Sumo, student, I called you over. Give me a massage. She stretched her small foot further, pressing it against your face. Helplessly, you grasped her jade-like foot. The moment you touched it, you were stunned by its perfection. You then began to rub in the liniment for bruises. But the next second, Qinyue suddenly let out a soft groan, which startled you. You quickly let go and asked, Did I hurt you? Qinyue's face was flushed. No, it's just that this oil is too effective. It feels great. You breathed a sigh of relief, but also muttered to yourself, Is this liniment really that good? After continuing to massage her for a while, you started drawing high-heeled shoes on the table. Seeing this, Qinyue picked up a sketch and said, I didn't realize you had this hobby, Sumo student. Seeing her playful expression, you knew she had misunderstood, so you explained that it was a freelance design job you had taken. When she learned that you were missing a foot model for reference, she volunteered to be your model. Although you felt a bit embarrassed, you didn't refuse, as her foot shape was perfect from every angle. For the next while, she cooperated by striking various poses, and you successfully sketched drafts from various angles. When she took the sketches, she was instantly surprised. You drew so well! It seems Sumo, student, observed my feet very carefully. You scratched your head awkwardly. Later, you spent the afternoon drawing designs while Qinyue lay on the desk watching. She eventually fell asleep. Looking at Qinyue, who was completely defenseless against you, you couldn't help but sigh. Fortunately, I'm not one of the goblins in front of the screen, or something bad would have happened. Thinking this, you picked her up and put her on the bed, then went downstairs to practice basketball. After all, you had a friendly match with the neighboring sports academy tomorrow. It was almost midnight when Qinyue woke up and found herself lying in bed. She thought her husband had finally opened up, and her face flushed. However, she looked down and saw her clothes were still perfectly neat, and she instantly felt disappointed. Sumo, student! She realized you weren't home and went downstairs. As soon as she got downstairs, she saw you resting, hands on your knees, on the basketball court. Just as you were about to continue practicing, a fair, slender hand holding a tissue reached out to you. Qinyue looked at you with a smile. Sumo, student, you're so mean! You didn't even take me with you to practice. Didn't you twist your ankle? You frowned. Qinyue smiled slightly. After your massage, it's all better now. She then took the ball and became your practice partner. The next day, inside the gymnasium, you looked around, but couldn't find Qinyue, feeling a little disappointed. Just then, a male arts college teacher in the center of the court announced, the friendly match between the arts college men's team and the physical education men's team officially begins. He then looked at the arts college side. Remember, competition first, friendship second. Go Arts College. At this, the atmosphere on the Arts College side was instantly ignited, and they all shouted, "Go Arts College!" Subsequently, Yang Wei, the captain of the Arts College team, and Chen Yunfeng, the captain of the PE team, came to the center line, ready for the jump ball. With the sound of the whistle, both jumped almost simultaneously, but Chen Yunfeng got there first, tipping the ball to his teammate. A 6'3" giant received the ball, easily faked 2 opponents, and scored a layup. Seeing this, the spectators in the stands started discussing. As expected of a professional team, it looks like the Arts College is going to be crushed today. In fact, it was true. Only Captain Yang Wei of the Arts College team managed to score occasionally. Everyone else was virtually scoreless. At the end of the first half, the Arts College team was trailing by 18 points, and one player, unable to endure the beating, voluntarily left the court. Yang Wei reluctantly had to put you in the game. Chen Yunfeng smirked when he saw you enter the court and made a throat-slitting gesture at you. However, he never expected that after you got the ball, you would use a beautiful crossover and spin move to score 2 points. The moment the ball swished through the net, the students from the Arts College side collectively cheered in excitement. Although it was only 2 points, what mattered was the boost to morale. You were also quite surprised. It seemed the late-night exercise with Qin Yue had paid off. Yang Wei was also astonished, as it took him 2 years of hard practice to master that crossover and spin move. You were now standing at the free throw line preparing to shoot, as the opposing team had fouled you during your shot, giving you an and one opportunity. Just as you were about to shoot, Chen Yue appeared outside the court, dressed in a tight, revealing short-sleeved top and a JK miniskirt, which she had specifically prepared to cheer you up. She held pom-poms in both hands and shouted, "Go, sumo, student!" You instantly blushed. Not because her 2 bare white legs were dazzling, but because she was being so dramatic. However, something even more dramatic followed. "Sumo, student, if you win this game, I can grant you any wish." At this, all the goblins present simultaneously displayed the expression that even a handsome man like Yan Zhu would understand. "Wow, that's too much!" Only Chen Junfeng's face turned black with anger. He couldn't understand why Qin Yue would treat him differently. His goddess, whom he had been pursuing for so long, was now actively pursuing someone else. The game continued. You took a deep breath and decisively shot the free throw. Swish! The free throw went in. "Yeah!" the Arts College student shouted. Qin Yue waved her pom-poms and shouted, "Sumo, student, you're amazing. Our exercise last night really worked." These suggestive words once again ignited the attention of the school. Chen Yunfeng, in particular, keenly grasped the key point. Hearing, quote, "exercise last night," all his fighting spirit vanished. His subsequent performance in the game was full of errors. He probably dreamt of draw games when he went to sleep that night. Little did he know, this was exactly what Qin Yue wanted. Firstly, she could openly declare her affection. And secondly, she could interfere with the opposing captain, Chen Junfeng. And just as the Arts College team began to unleash their power on the court, a pair of beautiful eyes watched everything from outside the court. It was Ji Yu Qinghan, the former campus belle who had been dethroned by Qin Yue. She stared at Qin Yue's face, filled with resentment. If it weren't for Qin Yue, how could Ji Yu Qinghan have fallen to a point where no one in the Arts College paid attention to her? "You're very unwilling, aren't you?" A male voice suddenly spoke up next to her. It was Ji Boda, the president of the Arts College Student Union and Qin Yue's #1 admirer. "Isn't that Ji Xiao? Why are you suddenly concerned about me again?" Ji Yu Qinghan crossed her arms and spoke coldly. "Are you thinking of rekindling our old flame?" Ji Boda sneered. "Stop joking. I'm already tired of your act. I'm only interested in things I haven't obtained." He then turned his gaze towards Qin Yue. Seeing this, Ji Yu Qinghan's face grew darker. "It's him again. Am I really that inferior to him?" Ji Boda's tone suddenly shifted, and he spoke with profound meaning. "I know how to get you back on the campus bell throne. See that guy named Sumo?" Ji Yu Qinghan's eyes fell on you. "And? What are you trying to say? Are you jealous too, Ji Da Shoye, because he snatched your goddess?" Ji Boda wasn't offended. He just let out a cold laugh. "Do you really think they are a couple? Let me tell you, Qin Yue is currently pursuing that guy Sumo. So if you manage to pursue Sumo first, wouldn't that mean Qin Yue is inferior to you? This former campus belle and Jiboda were indeed extremely cunning. With just a few days of observation, he had accurately deduced the situation. Pursue a toad? What good is that for me? And don't think I don't know your objective, Jiyu Qinghan said, her mind perfectly clear. Although she felt Jiboda's words made sense, she needed some benefit for being used as a tool. All right, the next Arts College campus belle election is coming up. With my influence in the student union, I can definitely help you gather votes and create buzz. Jiyu Qinghan's eyes flashed with surprise after hearing this. You are truly vicious, but I like it. Meanwhile, due to Qin Yue's distracting style of cheering, the PE team's main player, Qin Yunfeng, was completely unable to play at his normal level. On the contrary, the Arts College team, having realized your strength, all set screens and created opportunities for you. And you didn't disappoint them. Whenever you got a chance, you shot accurately, with a 100% hit rate. Under these circumstances, the Arts College team ultimately won the friendly match by a single point. At this moment, Qin Yue ran up to Qin Jinfeng. You lost. A bet's a bet. You are not allowed to appear in front of me and sumo student, ever again. Qin Jinfeng's mouth twitched, and he said coldly, the PE team lost. What does that have to do with me, Qin Jinfeng? I won't give up. Looking at Chen Yunfeng's stubborn, dog-licking attitude, Qin Yue just sneered. Oh, really? Suit yourself. It's none of my business. She then smiled and walked toward you. This action surprised Chen Jinfeng. Did Qin Yue just tacitly agree to let me continue pursuing her? Thinking this, his old face couldn't help but blush. Seeing Qin Yue approach, you asked, did Chen Jinfeng agree to honor the bet? Qin Yue smiled sweetly. No, but after today, he definitely won't dare to appear in front of us anymore. What do you mean? You scratched your head, confused. You'll know when the time comes. Qin Yue replied with a smile. Her smile looked so beautiful to others, but little did they know it contained a hint of danger. In the Arts College trophy room, you were looking at the trophy, feeling very satisfied. We only managed to get the trophy because of your hard work. Sumo, student, you scratched your head awkwardly. I also have to thank you, Yue. I couldn't have done it without your guidance. Hearing this, Qin Yue's eyes darted around, and then she had a mischievous smile. Since that's the case, Sumo, student, shouldn't you reward me? She then leaned forward, moving closer to you. This sudden proximity made you retreat to the corner of the wall. In the quiet, dimly lit trophy room, the sound of you swallowing was audible. What are you doing? Me? Of course, I'm asking for a reward. Qin Yue's red lips drew near, her voice extremely pleasant. And you, looking at Qin Yue, who was so close you could hear her breathing, your eyes were wide open. Then you thought about it being a public place, and you quickly turned your head away, tightly closing your eyes, clearly looking like a small girl being wall-slammed. Seeing this, Qin Yue did not intend to let you go. She whispered in your ear, I want... What the heck was that sound? Just as you were about to say, Qin Yue, no. At least not here. Qin Yue instead said, to have a meal with you, sumo student. You suddenly opened your eyes. Huh? Have a meal, yes. But if you want to reward me with something else, that can wait, Qin Yue said, struggling to suppress a laugh, teasing you. Upon hearing this, your eye twitched, and you secretly sighed. Luckily, no one is here, or I would die of embarrassment right here. Afterward, Qin Yue told you to wait for her here. She would go back to the dorm to change clothes, and then you would leave. After she left, you closed the door of the trophy room, but as soon as you turned around, you bumped into a shadow, and your eyes were pressed against something soft, making it hard to open them. After feeling it for a moment, you realized something was wrong and quickly retreated, subconsciously reaching out to push the shadow away. However, your palm felt a soft sensation, accompanied by a delicate female voice. Sorry, I did it on purpose. Thinking of the softness you had just touched, you quickly backed away with both hands and feet. Just then, your eyes brightened and you saw a beautiful, delicate face. Jiyu Qinghan. Before you could fully recover, Jiyu Qinghan suddenly spoke. Senior, why are you here? She acted as if she was completely unaware of what had just happened. Hearing this, you quickly stepped back 2 steps and forced a smile. Senior sister, you misunderstood. I'm a sophomore design student. Is that so? But you look so mature. I feel like you're older than me, the senior sister said, as if she suddenly thought of something, and she smiled charmingly. By the way, junior student, you were so handsome playing basketball on the court just now. Can you sign an autograph for your senior sister? You raised both hands to indicate refusal. After all, Ji Chinghan was a prominent figure in the school while you were just a toad. Seeing this, Ji Chinghan didn't get angry. Instead, she took your hand and smiled. Junior student, can we get to know each other? After all, you are so outstanding. As she spoke, she fluttered her eyes and shook your hand, looking like a little fan. Although you felt it was a bit unreal, after your previous experience with Qin Yue, you weren't surprised. You quickly nodded your head, indicating willingness. Unexpectedly, Ji Chinghan had no intention of dwelling on this matter. She immediately followed up with, Sumo, student, do you have a girlfriend? You were momentarily stunned, clearly not expecting her to ask this. Just then, a sharp female voice rang out. Of course he does. Qin Yue, who had appeared at the corner of the corridor, looked at Ji Chinghan with a frosty expression. I'm genuinely happy that the senior sister likes Sumo, student, so much. However, senior sister might be disappointed right now because Qin Yue suddenly grabbed your arm and severely pinched your lower back, then said, Sumo's girlfriend is me. Isn't that right, honey? Looking at Qin Yue's saint-like smile, you couldn't help but take a sharp breath and quickly affirmed, Yeah, yes. Ji Chinghan raised an eyebrow when she saw this and said unhappily, Well, it seems Sumo, junior student, is really charming. Even our arts college campus belle, Yue, is in love with him. Hearing this, Qin Yue sneered. I can't help it. Lots of people like him. But only one can be with him, and that's me. Unexpectedly, Ji Chinghan spoke with a tone of disappointment. That's a real shame. There are too few excellent boys like the junior student. If I were the junior student's girlfriend, I would definitely let him find 2 more. Your eyes widened. Holy cow, what kind of shocking words are these? The Goblin Holy Cup fans in front of the screen would probably agree with both hands and feet. Qin Yue wasn't angered by this. Instead, she exhaled, her voice like an orchid. Since the senior sister is so selfless, I suggest you find a Sea King for yourself. I'm sure they would love a girlfriend who is older and understanding like you. Don't you agree? Qin Yue then curved her red lips, exuding a dangerous aura. She continued, After all, my Sumo student is a very devoted person. He can't satisfy your habit of liking other people's boyfriends. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Seeing this, you spoke up. Right, Yue, let's go eat early. Senior sister, we will be leaving now. Goodbye. You quickly pushed Qin Yue away. At the same time, a black McLaren 911 was parked outside the main gate of the Arts College. Young Master, Miss Qin has appeared. Linghu Trend, why did you bring me here? You looked at the huge Linghu store and then at Qin Yue. Qin Yava smiled sweetly. I think what He Weihang said was very right. Since Sumo, student, wants to create his own brand, he should start from the basics and learn from some high-quality clothing companies. It will definitely help you when you set up your design studio later. Hearing this, you didn't expect Qin Yue to take He Weihang's words to heart. But looking at the constant flow of people and the diverse clothing inside the Linghu store, you hesitated. I also thought about working in clothing sales, but how would a big brand hire a student who can only work part-time? You frowned, feeling a little troubled. It's simply impossible. Qin Yue smiled confidently. How will you know without trying? Isn't that what you always say, Sumo? Since we're here, why not just go in and ask? Seeing Qin Yue's insistence, you couldn't say much more. Seeing this, Qin Yue led you into the Linghu store. As soon as you entered, the customers in the store were instantly drawn to Qin Yue's stunning looks and figure. After all, girls as beautiful as Qin Yue were rare. Those who didn't know might have thought a celebrity had come to Linghu to buy clothes. Look, that girl is so pretty. Seriously, I'm so jealous of her legs. But her boyfriend is really subpar. Listening to the surrounding chatter, you were already used to it and could only give a helpless smile. A female sales associate immediately stepped forward, sizing up Chin Yue. Her eyes were filled with jealousy and disdain, and her tone was extremely cold. "Welcome. If you need anything, you can look around yourself." Chin Yue felt a bit uncomfortable hearing this. Since when did the Linghu store have this kind of service attitude? "Hello, I actually wanted to ask if you are recruiting for clothing sales here?" You blushed, but still managed to ask. The sales associate looked at you with renewed disdain, especially when she saw your simple, unbranded clothes. Her tone became even more contemptuous. "Yes, we are hiring, but do you know anything about fashion? You should know that this is not some cheap, generic clothing store." Hearing this, Chin Yue frowned. This woman is so condescending. "I have done some research privately because I am a design student. I usually draw some design sketches and try to understand market trends and public aesthetics." "Wait," the sales associate raised an eyebrow. "You're still a student?" You scratched your head, giving an awkward smile. "Yes, I'm hoping to work part-time in sales. If possible, even if the pay is a little lower, it's fine, because I don't have many classes, and I'm usually free." At this, the sales associate suddenly sneered. "Stop joking. I thought you were seriously looking for a job. This is a big brand clothing store. Do you really think this is some random little shop? What's with part-time? Go, 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 don't disrupt our customers' shopping." The sales associate said this with visible impatience and utter contempt. Just then, Chin Yue suddenly spoke. "Is that your attitude?" Hearing Chin Yue's question, the sales associate became even more scornful. "What attitude? Who do you think you are to manage me? We don't have time to entertain poor students like you. Forget it, Yue, let's just go." Seeing this, you didn't want to embarrass yourself. After all, you hadn't held out much hope, and since they were so adamant, there was no need to keep pestering them. "No." Chin Yue looked at the sales associate, her beautiful eyes turning ice cold. "Is this how you treat customers who walk into the store? If you don't apologize to us today, we will wait here until you do." You looked at Chin Yue in shock. You hadn't expected the campus belle to cause such a scene. You felt a wave of gratitude that Chin Yue was sticking up for you. The sales associate, however, scoffed. "Customers? You're just poor students. What kind of customers are you? You probably can't afford a single t-shirt here, even if you worked for a month." At this point, nearby customers heard the commotion and started looking over. Chin Yue's brows were tightly furrowed, and her face was purely frigid. First, Linghu is famous not only for its brand design, but also for its excellent service, which is why it's so popular. Second, everyone who walks into this store should be treated as a potential customer. Whether we're here to buy clothes or apply for a job, even if someone only comes in for a look, they shouldn't be treated like this. Why are we not considered customers? Third, not only did you verbally insult us, but you also severely damaged the brand's reputation and image. Is this how you work as a sales associate for a Linghu trend? You're looking down on people. Hearing this, you took a deep breath. You had to admit that Chin Yue's ability to argue based on reason was quite impressive. The sales associate was momentarily stunned by Chin Yue's speech, clearly not expecting a female college student to speak like that. She couldn't help but look at Chin Yue again. Seeing that more people were gathering, you started to feel awkward. Clearly, you and Chin Yue had once again become the center of attention. Chin Yue's eyes were serious. "I demand that you apologize to us now." "Dream on." The sales associate rolled her eyes and sneered. "Why should I apologize to two poor students, coming here to look for a job and acting like some princess? Anyone would think you were the CEO's daughter." Chin Yue immediately clenched her fist. What is going on? Just then, a middle-aged man in his 30s walked out. As he came out, he was about to see who was causing the trouble, but the moment his eyes landed on Chin Yue, his expression instantly turned to one of panic. "Isn't this Miss Chin?" A look from Chin Yue cut off the manager's words. "Manager Chen, is this how you manage your staff?" Chin Yue's tone was ice cold. Both the sales associate and you were extremely surprised. Chin Yue actually knew the store manager. Manager Chen's face was sweating profusely. He quickly rushed over. "I'm so sorry, Miss Chin Yue. What happened to make you so angry?" Manager Chen was completely bewildered, having no idea what had just transpired. Given Chin Yue's incomplete question, he could only stand there humbly in front of her. Chin Yue glanced at Manager Chen, then looked at the sales associate. "She just said she wanted to kick me out." Do you think it's appropriate for her to treat a customer this way? What? Manager Chen's face changed dramatically. He immediately glared at the sales associate and angrily rebuked her. Do you want to be fired? Miss Chen is our store's Diamond VIP. How dare you speak to her like that? The sales associate's heart sank and her face turned pale. What? As a sales associate for Lingu, she naturally knew what a Diamond VIP meant. It meant that the balance on Qin Yue's card would be more than enough to buy the entire store. After all, anyone who possessed that card was undoubtedly a person of prominent status. But who would have thought that this female college student in front of her had such a background? No wonder Qin Yue was so confident just now. It turned out she was a Diamond VIP here. On second thought, it made sense. Qin Yue was a young lady from a wealthy family and would be a high-value customer anywhere she went. The sales associate quickly tried to explain. Manager, I didn't mean to. They came to look for a job and said they only wanted part-time work, so I thought they were just... You still dare to argue? Manager Chen's face was flushed with anger. Even if they were looking for a job? As a Linghu employee, you have absolutely no right to kick them out. I think your wings have grown hard, and you dare to mess around when I'm not here. Quickly apologize to Miss Chen and this gentleman. At this point, the sales associate no longer had any of her previous arrogance. She quickly lowered her head and admitted her mistake. I'm sorry, Miss Q1. I didn't know you were our store's Diamond VIP. Everything I said was wrong, and I offended you. Please be the bigger person and forgive me this time. I promise I won't do this again. Please believe me. After speaking, the sales associate nervously glanced at Qin Yue. But Qin Yue's raised face was still cold. The customers in the store looked on in surprise and began discussing in low voices. No way! She's actually a Diamond VIP at Linghu? Isn't that the kind of treatment only female celebrities and such get? This girl looks young. Could she be a popular new artist? Even if she's not a celebrity, this girl's family must be incredibly wealthy and powerful. Look, even the manager of Linghu is bowing and scraping. Seeing the sales associate's sudden change in attitude, you couldn't help but sigh. It's great to be rich. If you had that kind of power, you probably wouldn't be looked down upon anymore. Seeing that Qin Yue remained silent for a long time, the sales associate could only lower her head in panic, not daring to lift it, waiting nervously for the important person to speak. Miss Chuan, does this resolve the situation for you? Manager Chen asked with a forced smile. Qin Yue then coldly snorted. What do you think? Hearing Qin Yue's question, Manager Chen became even more anxious. It seemed this young lady did not intend to let the matter drop easily. You don't need to come to work starting tomorrow. Get out right now. Manager Chen immediately snapped at the sales associate. Linghu Trend does not tolerate such arrogant employees. Manager, please don't make me say it a second time. Get out! Manager Chen's tone was absolute. Seeing this, you couldn't help but gasp. Are they firing someone just because of this? It seemed the rules and regulations of Linghu Trend were very strict. The sales associate's eyes were red, and she felt aggrieved. She covered her face and ran out crying. Anyone who didn't know the situation would have thought she was being bullied. You felt a little sympathy for her, but you also gained a deeper understanding of this clothing company. Service is paramount. For today's market, the quality of service cannot be ignored. In contrast, Qin Yue's expression was calm, as if the matter was trivial to her. Miss Qin, are you satisfied with the result? Manager Chen's angry expression was gone, replaced by an awkward, fawning smile as he rubbed his hands. It's all right, Qin Yue said faintly. After all, her husband was going to work here and she didn't want him to work with people like that. At the same time, she wanted to teach the sales associate a lesson and set an example for the other employees, so the surrounding customers wouldn't mistakenly think that Linghu Trend's staff were all rude and arrogant. That's good, Manager Chen said, laughing twice. Next time you honor us with a visit, Miss Chen, please just give me a heads up. That way my staff won't be so blind as to not recognize you. Qin Yue crossed her arms and gave Manager Chen a cold look. Instead of that, Manager Chen, you should be more careful when hiring people. Don't hire just anyone and damage Linghu's reputation. Yes, Miss Chen is right to admonish me. I guarantee that this will never happen again. With that, Manager Chen bowed and gestured for them to proceed. I apologize for the lack of attention, Miss Chin. I didn't know you were coming. Please, Miss Chin and this gentleman, come inside and rest for a bit. Qin Yue replied indifferently, then looked at Yu. A smile immediately appeared on her face. Let's go, sumo student. Yu hadn't fully recovered yet. Qin Yue's change of expression was too fast. Where did she learn that? Inside the store's reception room, Qin Yue and Yu sat on the sofa. Manager Chen poured tea for both of you and asked, Miss Qin, may I ask what clothes you are here to pick up? Hearing this, you couldn't help but frown. I don't need any clothes. I'm just here to ask you, Manager Chen, if you need part-time staff here. Qin Yue said slowly. Part-time? Manager Chen looked surprised. Could it be you, sir? It's me. You smiled awkwardly from the sofa. This is, don't ask questions you shouldn't ask. Just say whether you need or not. Qin Yue said coldly. Hearing this, Manager Chen, who had years of experience in the business world, immediately understood. He quickly replied, Of course, we need staff. Especially since it's a friend of Miss Chun. That's not even a question. But may I be so bold as to ask why you aren't applying for a full-time position? Since you are Miss Quinn's friend, you would naturally be paid the highest salary here, and the benefits would be outstanding. But for part-time work, that's only... You understood the rest of what he was trying to say. You explained, because I am currently a student at the Arts College, I can't work full-time. So I apologize, but I can only work part-time. However, please don't worry, I will put my heart into it. Haha, of course. Of course, Manager Chen said cheerily. So what are your salary expectations? You hesitated for a moment before answering. Honestly, just being able to work in sales here is enough for me. Plus, I'm only part-time, so I'm not in a position to demand a specific salary. As long as it can cover my basic living expenses during college, that's fine. So I'll leave it to you, Manager Chen, to decide. Manager Chen was clearly not expecting you to say this. Seeing your sincere expression, he felt a little emotional. Manager Chen then glanced at Qin Yue. The young lady slowly picked up her teacup, took a sip of tea, and nodded casually. Manager Chen immediately responded, swallowing hard. I see, young man. Our full-time sales associates get a monthly salary of 4,500 with a no-fault base salary. Manager Chen ticked off his fingers. Besides the base salary, there are commissions, full attendance bonuses, and we cover food and accommodation. Since you are part-time, we can only calculate it by formula. Excluding 4 days off per month, working 10 hours a day, we could calculate it at a no-fault rate of 18 yuan per hour. Cough, cough! Qin Yue suddenly coughed. You looked at Qin Yue. What's wrong? Did you burn yourself? No? Qin Yue smiled awkwardly. She then handed you the teacup. Sumo student, you must be thirsty. I've already cooled the water for you. Drink mine. Thank you, Yue, you said, blushing. Just as you took the teacup, Manager Chen clearly saw a murderous look in Qin Yue's eyes, full of suppressed anger. Qin Yue then frowned and mouthed the words, Do you want to die? Giving him so little. Manager Chen's forehead immediately broke out in cold sweat. Then how much do you suggest? At least this much? Qin Yue pursed her lips and secretly held up 3 slender fingers. Manager Chen saw this and swallowed hard. If the daughter of the boss spoke, how could he not comply? After all, the young lady had personally handed the boy a cup of tea. Their relationship must be something more than simple. If he didn't give him some special privileges, Qin Yue probably wouldn't let him off easily. Manager Chen, you just said a no-fault base salary of 18 yuan per hour. You put the teacup down on the table after drinking. You hadn't noticed any of the earlier exchange, and you even wondered why Manager Chen's forehead was so sweaty when the air conditioning was on in the reception room. That's strange. Hehe, no, I misspoke. It should be 30 inches, Manager Chen said, cautiously looking at Qin Yue. The look of displeasure on Qin Yue's face hadn't faded. Instead, she looked even more exasperated. Why can't he understand what I'm saying? She could only hold up one more finger to remind Manager Chen, and this finger pointed upwards. 300? You and Manager Chen asked in unison, looking at Manager Chen with the same expression of surprise. Manager Chen looked at you. Qin Yue instantly covered her face. This idiot, you were a little confused. Manager Chen had said 18, then 30, and now 300? Which price was it? In fact, you were already satisfied with the initial 18 yuan per hour. The typical part-time wage for a college student was around 10 to 12 yuan. 18 was already considered special treatment. If it was 30, the salary would be doubled, and that would be a good amount of money each month, which was why you were so excited to question it. But now, Manager Chen suddenly said 300, which completely baffled you. You figured it must have been a slip of the tongue. At this moment, Manager Chen looked at Qin Yue with a questioning gaze. After receiving her confirming nod, Manager Chen took a sharp breath. It really is 300 yuan. This hourly wage is higher than his own as a manager. Manager Chen, what? What do you mean? I'm a little slow and don't quite understand what price you are saying. Is it really 30? You scratched your head, your smile somewhat strained. Manager Chen looked like he was about to cry and laugh at the same time. Would you believe me if I said 300 yuan an hour? That's impossible. Your eyes widened instantly. Manager Chen's heart was twitching. Yes, I also think it's impossible. Although you didn't believe it, it was indeed the truth. Manager Chen tried hard to maintain a smile. You felt overwhelmed and said with an awkward smile, Manager Chen, please don't joke with me. I'm happy even with 18 yuan an hour. How could it be 300? Manager Chen pulled at the corner of his mouth and smiled. Sumo, student. I heard that Linghu has special treatment for part-time staff. Because they give up commissions, full attendance bonuses, etc. It converts into a fixed hourly wage, so the part-time hourly wage is higher. I think that's what Manager Chen meant, Qin Yue interjected and explained. If she didn't say that, her husband wouldn't believe it. Although it was a bit far-fetched, Manager Chen forced a smile and nodded. Yes! If that were the case, why would he bother being a manager? Wouldn't doing part-time be much better? Of course, Manager Chen didn't dare to show this thought and kept it bottled up. Even if you give up these other options, it wouldn't be this high, right? You were still somewhat confused. The female salesperson before said the store didn't hire part-timers, but now there was a part-time preferential treatment. It felt contradictory. And at 300 yuan an hour, wouldn't that mean working one afternoon would net over 1,000 in wages? This salary would be considered absolutely high-paying anywhere. You felt it was too unrealistic. Don't overthink it, classmate Sumo. Since Manager Chen said so, he surely wouldn't lie to us. Could it be that classmate Sumo is afraid of the salary being too high? You gave an awkward smile. No, not exactly. I just feel like I don't deserve it. How could that be? Since you're a friend introduced by Miss Qian, you must be a genius who is absolutely worthy of this solid salary. Therefore, on behalf of our store, I sincerely hope you can join us. Wages are settled daily, and you can come to work whenever you feel like it, as long as you're happy. Manager Chen forced a professional, fake smile. Having to deal with a young lady like this really gave him a headache. Qin Yue pretended to be excited and urged, "Hurry and agree, classmate Sumo. You can't miss out on such good treatment." Then thank you, Manager Chen, you said, suppressing the excitement in your heart. With this job, life in the future would definitely not be a problem, and you could even improve your standard of living. If you could successfully get the salary, you had other, more long-term plans. Of course, you could also send some money home. This was truly great. After completing the onboarding procedures, you and Qin Yue walked out of the Linghu store. Quote, "How is it, classmate Sumo? You found a new job, so you feel much better now, right?" Qin Yue smiled slightly. You happily nodded. Yes, I didn't expect to find a job with such a high salary, and it also gives me a chance to learn. I'm very content. That's good. Seeing your genuine smile, Qin Yue was also very happy. Now that her husband's employment was successfully resolved, the guilt in Qin Yue's heart also vanished. In the future, not only could she slowly get her husband back on the right track, but she also wouldn't have to worry about him being bullied while working outside. After all, Linghu Trendy was a clothing brand under her family's banner. She had to thank He Weihang and the others for this. If they hadn't given the suggestion, she wouldn't have been able to arrange this so smoothly. She might have had to go to great lengths otherwise. Thank you, Yue. You suddenly spoke up. If Qin Yue hadn't encouraged you and helped you overcome the earlier humiliation, you probably wouldn't have gotten this job. Compared to Qin Yue, you felt truly inferior right now. You needed to work harder to become better. Qin Yue chuckled, smiling silently. She looped her arm through yours. Why say something so distant? After all, classmate Sumo's job was lost because of me, so of course, I'm responsible. Hearing this, your heart inexplicably warmed just as you were about to say something. The roar of a sports car suddenly echoed down the quiet lane, growing closer from a distance. The boom on the silent road was particularly jarring. Queen Yue was about to get annoyed when the sports car drifted and parked sideways in front of them, blocking their way. Thick dust billowed up from behind the car. You slightly frowned at the sight. Immediately after, a crew-cut burly man got out of the sports car. A moment later, a man wearing a gray casual suit also got out of the passenger seat. Judging by his demeanor, he seemed like the wealthy young master of a prominent family. The young man adjusted his collar with both hands and walked towards you with a cold expression. Seeing this setup, you suddenly felt uneasy. Xing Yue's expression was even more one of shock and disgust. It's actually him! Zhang Li calmly walked to the front of the car, his handsome, cold face set, and approached the two of you. The crew-cut strongman followed closely behind. Seeing Zhang Li approach, you subconsciously pulled Qin Yue behind you. Classmate Sumo. Warmth filled Qin Yue's heart. She hadn't expected her husband to think of protecting her first at this moment. Zhang Li's face instantly darkened as he watched the intimacy between the two of you. I wondered why you refused to see me. Turns out you were sneaking around looking for a gigolo. Qin Yue, you really know how to put horns on my head. Hearing this, you were slightly surprised. He knows you? Qin Yue was about to speak, but Zhang Li cut her off. Of course I know him. Not only do I know him, but the person you're grabbing right now is my Zhang Li's fiancé. Fiancé? What is going on? You were completely stunned. Could it be that Qin Yue was already engaged? Stop your nonsense. Who is your fiancé? Qin Yue's face was icy cold, and she clenched her fists. That's an issue between you and my father. I never agreed to this marriage. Zhang Li sneered when he heard this. Never agreed? Does that mean the engagement can just be called off? Is your Qin group so untrustworthy? Don't forget who helped your Qin family. Hearing this, you couldn't help but frown. What exactly happened between them? You're just using your Zhang family's power to take advantage of our Qin family's difficulties. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. In short, I won't marry you. Queen Yue gritted her silver teeth. Who was Zhang Li? The only son of the prominent Zhang family in Lanhai. He had been spoiled and cherished since childhood, and was the sole heir to the Zhang family's future. However, Zhang Li had a volatile temper, was extravagant and deceitful, and had an extremely promiscuous private life. How could Qin Yue possibly have feelings for a person like this? Furthermore, Qin Yue would never agree to a business transaction that used her as a bargaining chip. No matter what, she wouldn't marry this spoiled young man in front of her. She had always loved only her husband, Sumo. A good line, I won't marry you. Is there anything that I, Zhang Li, can't provide? At least I'm 100 times better than the boy next to you, right? Zhang Li, exasperated, finally spoke the reason for his anger. You were stunned when you heard this. So, this guy named Zhang Li mistakenly thought you and Qin Yue had some kind of relationship. Zhang Li gritted his teeth and continued, on the contrary, you, a dignified Qin family heiress, are secretly involved with this poor boy? Aren't you afraid of disgracing your Qin group? Qin Yue's actions not only embarrassed the Qin group, but also embarrassed Zhang Li. If people in their circles found out that his fiancé was secretly involved with another man, and a poor boy at that, where would Zhang Li's pride go? If he hadn't discovered this today, he would be wearing a cuckoo land, slang for cuckoldry hat every day without knowing it. At this moment, Qin Yue coldly scoffed. My affairs don't need your concern, young Master Zhang. Besides, if you feel embarrassed, you can just cancel the engagement with my father. Why bother pestering me? Zhang Li clenched his fist. He hadn't expected this woman to say that. But for him to cancel the engagement was absolutely impossible. He had finally gotten this opportunity to swallow the Qin group. If Qin Yue didn't marry him, wouldn't everything he had done be in vain? Not to mention, Qin Yue was the #1 beauty in Lanhai. Zhang Li would not cancel it under any circumstances. The next moment, Zhang Li's eyes narrowed, revealing a fierce glare. I've investigated this boy's background. He's just a penniless loser. How could someone like that be worthy of you? Being with you is just for the Qin group's money, right? Zhang Li truly didn't understand why Qin Yue would like such a poor boy. Hearing this, your heart stirred. This guy actually spoke about you like that. Although you were indeed penniless, as he said, you knew your place and never dreamed of being with a privileged person like Qin Yue. After all, it wasn't realistic. But to say that you, Sumo, were after the Qin group's money, that was something you couldn't tolerate. You looked at Zhang Li and spoke coldly. I never thought about those things. Everything you said is just your speculation, isn't it? Speculation? I've seen too many self-righteous, gigolo-type men like you, Zhang Li has. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Everyone is driven by their lower body. Zhang Li smiled disdainfully. Classmate Sumo is not the kind of person you say he is. Hearing Zhang Li's increasingly unpleasant words, Qin Yue's beautiful eyes grew sharper. I know better than anyone what kind of person he is. You don't need to judge him. He is truly 100 times better than you. In her past life, Qin Yue had met and fallen in love with Sumo, and that was the happiest time of her life. As Sumo's partner, how could she not see his character clearly? You, however, looked at her with a complicated expression. Why does Qin Yue always trust me so much? We've only known each other for a few days. It seems you're truly infatuated, Qin Yue. Zhang Li's face was utterly dark. Since you refuse to face reality, don't blame me for resorting to forceful measures. Today, you must leave this boy. If it weren't for this poor loser, why would Qin Yue be infatuated with another? Only by eliminating him can everything go back to the beginning. Hearing Zhang Li's words, Qin Yue immediately became alert. What do you want to do to us? Zhang Li gave a sinister smile and slowly said, Not us, just that boy. You are my fiancé, so how could I bear to hurt you, right? After all the blame lies with this boy. Yue, you go first. You said, frowning at Qin Yue. He's coming for me. If I'm defeated, I don't know what he'll do to you. Although you were also afraid, you couldn't let anything happen to Qin Yue. If it was going to be a complete break, then at worst, it was just one life. No, I'm not leaving. Qin Yue shook her head and spoke with determined eyes. With me here, he wouldn't dare do anything to you. Besides, he wouldn't dare touch me. If he dares to lay a finger on me, the Qin group won't let him off. You two really stand by each other through thick and thin, don't you? Zhang Li's face showed a malicious and hateful expression, and he clenched his jaw. What was it about this boy that was so attractive to her? Qin Yue was protecting this poor boy, regardless of the consequences. For Zhang Li, this was undoubtedly a humiliation. Ignoring him, the young master of the Zhang family who was above all others, and choosing a penniless loser? He couldn't tolerate it, absolutely not. You're right about one thing. I truly wouldn't dare do anything to you. But today, I must teach him a lesson and let him know the consequence of seducing someone else's woman. After saying that, Zhang Li shouted, Go! Grab this boy for me! Yes, young master! The crew-cut strong man stepped forward, exuding a murderous aura. As the strong man twisted his neck, popping sounds kept ringing out, making you incredibly nervous. This guy looks much tougher to deal with than those thugs from before. Although he was alone, you truly weren't confident you could handle him. Tonight, you two won't escape no matter what. Zhang Li was arrogant and smug. He's a personal bodyguard I specifically hired from Southeast Asia. He's not only skilled in combat, but also a cold-blooded killer. He can easily deal with that boy with one hand. Let's see how you're going to protect him. If you don't want him to die, I advise you to obediently come back to my side. Maybe I can still spare the boy's life. You're still dreaming, Zhang Li. Qin Yue stepped in front of you, her beautiful eyes cold. If you want to touch classmate Sumo, you have to deal with me first. Otherwise, I won't let you touch him. Right now, only she could protect her husband. If Zhang Li succeeded today, this vicious young master would absolutely not let her husband go. Looking at Qin Yue's back, you were somewhat lost in thought. Whenever you encountered danger, Qin Yue always stepped forward. You, a man, had to be protected by a girl. This was too much of a failure. Although Qin Yue was indeed better in a fight than you absolutely didn't want to go on like this. Since you refused to agree, then you are essentially sending him to his death, Zhang Li said with a cold laugh. Crippled that boy. Don't show any mercy. I'd like to see who dares to stop me." As Zhang Liye gave the order, the crew-cut strongman's eyes flared with a fierce light, and he slowly advanced towards you. "You bastard!" Qin Yue grit her teeth. At that moment, your hand landed on her shoulder. Qin Yue looked back in surprise, only to see your calm expression. "Since it can't be avoided, I won't back down. I'm also unwilling to hide behind a girl." Qin Yue was momentarily stunned. You stepped forward, clenching your fist. At this moment, your slender figure was resolute. The crew-cut strongman sneered. "I admire you for being a man, but it's useless." With that, the strong man grinned grimly and raised his calloused fist. Just as the strong man was about to strike you, an empty wine bottle suddenly rolled to his feet. Everyone's attention was drawn to the bottle. They looked around. Where did this come from? The strong man frowned. Could this boy be a fortune teller? Bringing a weapon? You were also confused. How could there be anyone on this dark path? Just then, the sound of hiccuping came from behind you and Qin Yue. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound, only to see two figures staggering towards them. A moment later, a clamorous noise rang out. "Boss, when is that bitch gonna give us the money? I'm gonna find her tonight." We left in a hurry then and forgot to ask the broad for her contact information. Damn it! Now we can't find her. But we can't let anyone take advantage of us, right? You agree, right? Yes, boss, you're absolutely right. Shit! The more I think about it, the angrier I get. If I ran into that broad now, I'd definitely... The drunk yellow hair, full of indignation, stumbled in front of Qin Yue. Then yellow hair squinted his eyes and sized her up. As Qin Yue's face became clearer, yellow hair's flushed face instantly turned pale. The fatty next to him, who was completely drunk, still didn't realize what was happening. Boss, you wanna attack me? That's not good, is it? You idiot! Yellow hair punched the fatty on the head. Take a good look at who's in front of you. The fatty rubbed his head and looked at Qin Yue, giving a drunken hiccup. This woman looks a lot like that bitch! Qin Yue's face suddenly turned icy cold. At the sight, the corners of your eyes twitched. Oh no, why are these two guys here too? Truly a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Misfortunes never come singly. Who are these two things? Zhang Lai's face darkened when he saw this. He didn't know where two drunk hooligans had popped up from to disrupt his plan. Zhang Lai's strong man also frowned in confusion. Young master, don't be angry, he's drunk. Yellow hair nervously covered the fatty's mouth and said, I didn't expect you to be here, milady. Haha, are so many people here for a movie shoot? Yellow hair forced an awkward laugh. Did this woman hear everything I just said? Damn it! He didn't want to be beaten up by Qin Yue again. Who did you just say you wanted to attack? Kanadue looked at yellow hair with cold eyes. Yellow hair immediately swallowed his saliva, beads of cold sweat on his forehead. Just... Fatty! Fatty shook his head like a rattle. You noticed something was off. Why were these two hooligans suddenly so afraid of Qin Yue? Could it be that they were scared off by Qin Yue's beating last time? Quote, have you guys said enough? Zhang Lai suddenly shouted in anger. Drinking in front of me. Do you take me, Zhang Lai, for granted? Although he didn't know what relationship these two had with Qin Yue, even if they were two helpers, his subordinate could still handle them. Seeing this situation, Yellow Hair was terrified. Although Yellow Hair was still thinking about getting the money from Qin Yue, protecting his life was more important right now. Yellow Hair swallowed his saliva, looked at Qin Yue, and said with a timid smile, milady, we just remembered we have something else to do, so we won't bother you. Wait a moment. Qin Yue's voice suddenly rang out. Yellow Hair and the fatty, who were walking back, stiffened instantly. Milady, do you have any other instructions? Hearing Qin Yue call him, Yellow Hair fearfully turned his head and gave an awkward smile. You saw Qin Yue take a long stride and actually walk up to Yellow Hair. Milady, what I said just now really wasn't about you. Yellow Hair raised his arm to block, afraid that Qin Yue would beat him up again. Qin Yue merely raised the corner of her mouth slightly, tilted her red lips, and said, Didn't you want to ask me for money? Now there's another opportunity for you to earn money. If you help me accomplish this, I'll double the money I owe you. How about that? Qin Yue spoke in a very low voice, only audible to her, Yellow Hair, and the fatty. What? Yellow Hair looked at Qin Yue in shock, then looked at Zhang Lai and the strong man in the distance. There's something this good? Doubling it would be 100,000 yuan. How many low-level jobs would he have to do to earn 100,000 yuan? Qin Yue was just agonizing over how to solve the current problem when Yellow Hair and the fatty appeared. She could use these two simpletons to deal with Zhang Lai. At the very least, she and Su Mo could create a chance to escape. Therefore, Qin Yue made this deal with Yellow Hair. Wait, how can I trust you? Yellow Hair was smarter this time. He wouldn't be used as a pawn for nothing again without knowing the details clearly. He had to be convinced, right? If you can help me solve this problem, are you afraid I'll run away right under your nose? Coldly scoffed. Besides, if something happens to me, you can forget about getting the previous money. This girl is actually threatening him. However, Yellow Hair thought about it. That was true. If something really happened to this girl, the 50,000 yuan would be gone. Not to mention, now there was a chance to double it. The other side only had 2 people. It just so happened that each of them could handle one. It seemed feasible. Thinking this, Yellow Hair's heart began to waver. Okay, then I'll help you one more time. Yellow Hair shouted loudly. Ergu, come with me! The next moment, Yellow Hair led Ergu forward and approached the strong man. What did you say to them? You looked at Qin Yue in confusion. Seeing the posture of the 2 hooligans, it seemed like they were going to stand up for them. Qin Yue just smiled faintly. Just a small deal. You were even more confused. Zhang Lai looked at the 2 low-class hooligans and sneered. So you actually found 2 thugs to help you? You, a dignified Qin family heiress, have fallen to this level? The hooligan Yellow Hair sneered when he heard this, pulling a telescopic baton from his pocket. Who are you calling a hooligan? I'm a man who's going to dominate Lanhai City. How dare you talk to me like that, kid? You 2 big men bullying this young couple, and my brother and I just happened to run into it. You're out of luck. Today, Brother Mao will eliminate a menace for the people and let you taste the power of us, the twin heroes of Lanhai. When Zhang Li heard this, a trace of caution appeared on his face. Hearing this, do these 2 guys have some extraordinary skills? Ergo, okay, boss! Bite him! Yellow Hair gave an order, and Ergao immediately yelled and charged toward the burly man. Sumo's eyes widened at the sight. So ferocious! Ergu opened his mouth wide, his 2 rows of yellow teeth almost like a biochemical weapon. Just as he was about to bite the crew-cut strongman, the strongman punched out, hitting Ergu directly in the face with a bang. Ergu instantly froze, and his last remaining front tooth fell to the ground. A moment later, 2 streams of blood flowed from Ergao's nostrils. The strongman coldly snorted and followed up with a sidekick, hitting Ergao's waist with a thud. The 120-plus pound Ergao was kicked to the side, his body limp like noodles as he slumped against the dark wall base. Ergu, don't sleep yet. It's not time. The panicked Yellow Hair shook Ergu, then raised a trembling hand and glared fiercely at the strong man. Bastard! How dare you beat Ergu to death? He's my brother! Yellow Hair then looked at Qin Yue. I need more money. He's not really dead, is he? You frowned deeply. If a life was really lost, it would be a major problem. How annoying. So what if someone dies? Weeping and wailing. 2 more are gonna die later anyway. Zhang Lai coldly snorted. In his eyes, this was nothing. At worst, he would just have his father spend some money to cover it up. Yellow Hair stood up, his chest heaving uncontrollably. Then he raised his sharp eyes and looked at Zhang Lai. How could a rich brat like you treat people as human beings? I want blood debt repaid from you and him. With that, Yellow Hair raised his baton and rushed toward Zhang Lai. However, before he could even touch Zhang Lai, the strongman grabbed Yellow Hair's neck and stopped him. Yellow Hair's face flushed crimson. He struggled, grabbing the strongman's thick arm. He's choking my throat! I have to go help him. You clenched your fist, ready to step forward. But Qin Yue held you back. She also realized that the expert Zhang Lai had hired this time was not easy to deal with. Although there was only one opponent, he completely disregarded all of them. Sumo, you can't go. I can't let you take this risk. She had just confessed her feelings to her future husband, and their happy life hadn't even begun. Even if Shangli didn't intend to kill, if he seriously injured her husband, what would become of her future happiness? This alley was exceptionally quiet, with no cameras. If Zhang really wanted to do something, there likely wouldn't be any evidence left behind. Qin Yue felt a bit helpless at this point. You clenched your fist. Although Yellow Hair was no good person, he was currently standing up for them. You couldn't just stand by and watch. At that moment, Yellow Hair was violently thrown to the ground and let out a sharp cough. Immediately after, the strong man swung both fists, delivering a flurry of combination punches to the Yellow Hair on the ground. Yellow Hair kicked the strong man's abdomen with his legs to maintain some distance and raised both arms to guard, but he still struggled to resist the powerful punches. Seeing this, your blood boiled, and you couldn't stand it anymore. In a moment of urgency, you spotted a fist-sized rock on the ground. On the other side, Yellow Hair was yelling and gritting his teeth to endure. Just as the strong man was about to grab Yellow Hair, a black shadow suddenly struck the corner of his eye. Bang! A rock hit the strong man's temple squarely. Classmate Sumo, Qin Yue hadn't expected you to do such a thing. Even Zhang Li, who was watching the show, was startled and looked at you. You were biting your lip and panting, seeming to have gathered all your courage to do it. The strong man's eye was bleeding from the rock hit, and his whole body staggered back 2 steps. Damn it! The strong man took a deep breath, raised his hand to wipe the blood, and the next moment he glared ferociously at you. You little brat, you're courting death! The strong man was completely enraged now. He gritted his teeth, wiped the blood from his forehead, and then strode toward you. You swallowed, clenched your fists, and were ready to fight to the death. Qin Yue felt the same way. If this person dared to touch her husband, she absolutely wouldn't forgive him. Stop right there. However, at that moment, Yellow Hair suddenly stood up with difficulty. The strong man looked at the panting Yellow Hair in surprise. He hadn't expected Yellow Hair to still be able to stand up in this condition. How are you like a cockroach that can't be killed? Zhang Li raised his eyebrows, his tone contemptuous. He had to admit that Yellow Hair was tough, but it was useless. You were also surprised, but if this continued, Yellow Hair would definitely be seriously injured. You hadn't expected this hooligan to be quite loyal. To maintain his integrity as a thug even now was enough to make many people feel ashamed. At this point, you suddenly spoke to Qin Yue. Yue, we have to call the police. There's been a death here. If we don't call the police, who knows what else will happen? I know, Qin Yue nodded. The next moment, Qin Yue took out her phone. Just as she was about to dial the 3 digits, 911, she suddenly paused. Then, Qin Yue deleted the numbers and changed to another number. Little Yellow Hair, is it worth sacrificing your life and your brother's life to save these two? Zhang Li coldly chuckled. I don't know why you're helping them, but in the end, you won't get any benefits. Only death awaits you. Yellow Hair heard this, breathing heavily, but then he laughed. Zhang Li watched the smile on Yellow Hair's face gradually disappear. What is this guy pretending about? Yellow Hair grinned widely. I originally just wanted to defeat you as an ordinary person, but all I got was your contempt. Now I'm showing my cards. No more pretending. I am the 18th generation single disciple of the Plum Blossom Praying Mantis Fist in Lanhai City. As he spoke, Yellow Hair curled his fingers and took a standard Praying Mantis Fist stance, which actually looked quite authentic. Wow! You couldn't help but gasp. So this Yellow Hair was so powerful? Had he been hiding his strength all along? Qin Yue, however, had a complex look on her face. Is this guy for real? Plum Blossom Praying Mantis Fist? Why haven't I heard of this sect? Zhang Li looked skeptical, a playful smile on his face. You little hooligan? Trying to play tricks? I bet you're bluffing. Yellow Hair's expression was focused, and he slowly changed the position of his hands. If it's real or not, you'll know when you try. Good. Then I'll kill you first, and then I'll finish off that kid. The strong man sneered and redirected his focus, walking toward Yellow Hair. Yellow Hair saw this, and his eyes subtly darted downward. Just as the strong man approached, Yellow Hair suddenly pointed at Ergo behind him. Hey, you're alive again! The strong man was startled and looked back, but found nothing. Hey, are you an idiot? Zhang Li widened his eyes at this. The strong man finally realized what happened. Just as he turned his head, a black shadow smashed into his forehead. Thud! With a muffled sound, Yellowhair picked up the baton from the ground and struck the strong man's head. Even the most formidable person couldn't withstand that blow. The strong man's body immediately stiffened, blood streamed down his forehead, his eyes rolled back, and he collapsed onto the ground with a thump. Zhongli was so scared that he took 2 steps back. This powerful bodyguard of his was actually defeated just like that. Wow, this Yellowhair has that trick up his sleeve, you couldn't help but exclaim. You hadn't expected Yellowhair to play a trick by feinting to the east and attacking the west? You truly thought he was going to use the praying mantis fist to deal with the bodyguard. Qian Yue also breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully, as long as the most troublesome bodyguard was knocked down, everything would be fine. Now only Zhang Lai remained in front of them. You bastard. Now it's your turn. Yellowhair tossed the baton aside and glared fiercely at Zhang Lai. Zhang Lai's heart skipped a beat. Damn it! He hadn't expected the situation to change so abruptly. He thought it was a foolproof plan to take care of these people as easily as pinching chicks. You piece of trash! Weren't you arrogant just now? Why aren't you looking so smug now? Yellowhair spat on the ground, his face full of viciousness. I'll let you see what Plum Blossom Praying Mantis Fist is. What do you want to do? Zhang Lai pointed at Yellowhair and nervously backed away. I'm the young master of the Zhang family. Do you know who my father is? If you dare touch me, he'll search every corner of the earth to find and bury you. I advise you to stop now. Otherwise, I'll make you. Otherwise, what? Yellowhair roared, and his 2 arms struck toward Zhang Lai like the blades of a praying mantis. Zhang Lai screamed as he was hit, raising his hands to block in front of him. Young master of the Zhang family, eh? Yellowhair punched Zhang Lai in the face. You want to bury me? Eh? Another punch landed squarely on Zhang Lai's abdomen. I'll show you who your daddy is. Yellowhair then punched Zhang Lai's lower jaw. Following that, he executed a move called Monkey Steals the Peach. Reaching directly for Zhang Lai's groin, Yellowhair's expression twisted, and he clenched his 5 fingers tightly. Let you taste what I felt last time. Zhang Lai tilted his neck back, his eyes desperate, and he screamed in pain. At that moment, he felt like he heard the sound of a little chick hatching. My family jewels! You watched this brutal scene, your Adam's apple bobbing. Is there really a monkey steals the peach move in praying mantis fist? You didn't know, but he looked so miserable. Watching Zhang Lai writhe on the ground in pain, his throat was constricted. You bastard! Yellowhair immediately felt physically and mentally delighted. This move from the milady is still the most effective. At this moment, Yu and Qin Yue walked over. Yellowhair looked at Qin Yue and said, How was that, milady? I didn't disappoint you, did I? Not bad. Qin Yue raised the corner of her mouth. I won't let you get away with this, Zhang Lai said through gritted teeth, his face contorted in pain. Yellowhair became angry again when he heard this, rolling up his sleeves to beat Zhang Lai up again, but Qin Yue stopped him. Forget it. Let it go. She only intended to make them retreat in the face of difficulty. There was no need to continue fighting. Although she also wanted to beat Zhang Lai up badly, Zhang Lai was still the son of the Zhang family and a well-known figure in the business circle. She could only teach people like him a lesson. To avoid provoking the Zhang family patriarch's wrath, it was best to stop here. If the milady hadn't told me to spare your life, you would be dead. Yellowhair coldly snorted. Qin Yue then spoke coldly to Zhang Li. Young Master Zhang, I advise you to behave yourself. Go back to your Zhang family and be your wealthy second-generation heir. Things have come to this point. You should understand that it's impossible for me to be with you. Don't bother my life again in the future. Do you understand? Qin Yue's last sentence was absolutely decisive. But to Zhang Li, Qin Yue was mocking him. You wait, Qin Yue. I'm not done with you. And you two, you wait too. With that, Zhang Li hurriedly opened the car door and sped away. You couldn't help but frown at this. Offending such a young master would probably make things difficult in the future. This was truly a headache. Watching Zhang Lai get into the car and drive away, even abandoning his own bodyguard, Yellowhair couldn't help but sneer. This guy talks a big game, but he runs just as fast. Bah. Wait! You suddenly remembered something, your face paling. The next moment, you rushed to the side of the collapsed Ergu and anxiously said, Quick, Call an ambulance. Don't worry, classmate Sumo. He's fine, Chinyue suddenly said. You were stunned. Kinyue lifted her chin. Quote, see? He's still breathing. Hearing this, you immediately looked back and realized that Ergao's chest was still rising and falling. Listening closely, you could even hear him snoring. This made the corners of your eyes twitch. Wasn't he knocked unconscious? Why is he sleeping? You scared me. I thought he was really dead. Turns out they knew Ergao wasn't dead all along. As long as no one died, it's fine. Yellowhair chuckled proudly. You wouldn't know Ergu's body is tough. Although that bodyguard was strong, he still lost to us, the twin heroes of Lanhai. Beating him was a piece of cake. You gave an awkward smile. By the way, why isn't he waking up yet? You shook Ergu, but Ergu was sleeping too soundly. It was bizarre that he was sleeping so soundly, even with blood flowing from his nose. Hey, move aside, let me do it. The next moment, Yellowhair walked up to Ergu and shouted loudly into his ear. Heavenly King covers Earth Tiger, chicken stewed with mushrooms. Ergao suddenly opened his eyes wide and sprang up from the ground. Boss, time to eat. You and Chinyue were both startled by this. What kind of secret code is that? Eat your head, eat! Yellowhair smacked Ergu on the head. All you do is eat and sleep all day. The fight's over, and you're still not getting up. Then Yellowhair looked at Chinyue and grinned. By the way, milady, shouldn't we settle the bill? That was 100,000 yuan he risked his life for. He had to get it. Otherwise, this trip would be for nothing. What bill, you asked, confused. Chinyue looked into the distance. Wait a moment. They should be arriving soon. Soon? Yellowhair didn't understand what Chinyue meant. Is she going to default on the debt? However, just then, several headlights shone from afar. It seemed that cars were driving toward them, and more than one. You frowned at the sight. Zhang Lai? That guy didn't run back, did he? Damn, did that kid bring more people? Yellowhair was shocked. If that were the case, they had to run. His little trick wouldn't work a second time. Don't worry, classmate Sumo. These are the people I called, Chinyue suddenly said. The several cars driving from the distance instantly filled the quiet alleyway. 4 or 5 black Mercedes-Benz cars emerged from the darkness, kicking up a cloud of dust, and stopped in front of the few of you. Seeing this spectacle, your jaw and Yellowhair's jaw almost dropped to the ground. After the black Mercedes-Benz cars stopped, the doors opened one after another, and several tall bodyguards in suits and leather shoes stepped out. They respectfully said to Chinyue, "Personnel have arrived, young mistress." Following that, a white-haired elder in a suit vest and wire-rimmed glasses got out of the leading Mercedes-Benz. The man only looked old, but his posture was very straight and not frail. Young mistress, are you all right? The elderly man in the suit vest stepped forward and asked. As he spoke, his eyes swept over you, Yellowhair, and Ergao. What just happened? Young mistress? Were these 3 guys holding you hostage? The elderly man, the butler, suddenly looked alert, and a group of bodyguards quickly surrounded you and Yellowhair. What? You and Yellowhair exclaimed in unison. Kinyue explained, You misunderstood, Uncle Ai. They are all my friends. The one who threatened me just now was that Zhang Lai guy, but he ran away, only leaving 1 bodyguard here. Butler Li looked at the person on the ground. That person was young Master Zhang's bodyguard? Only then did Uncle Lai understand what happened. He immediately extended his hand to you and said, My apologies for the misunderstanding, everyone. Since you are the young mistress's friends, you are naturally my friends. Please allow me to introduce myself. I am Butler Li Wen, the steward who watched the young mistress grow up. Butler? You inhaled sharply. You hadn't expected Chinyue to have a butler by her side. Not only that, but she could call in so many bodyguards at any time. The heiress of the Qin group was indeed extraordinary. Yellowhair's eyes lit up with golden light at the sight. Heavens! So many Mercedes-Benz cars! This little girl is definitely rich. It's a good thing I agreed to this job. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known the milady had such a powerful background. I've truly met a noble person this time. Hey, no need to be polite. Protecting the young mistress is my duty. Yellowhair enthusiastically shook Uncle Lai's hand. Although I only needed 2 fingers to send those guys running. It was just a small effort. I'm just used to helping when I see injustice. In that case, I won't give you the 100,000 yuan then. 100,000 yuan. Yellow Hair was shocked when he heard this. Qin Yue coldly snorted, then finally spoke. Uncle Lei, give him a check for 100,000 yuan. After all, we owe Yellow Hair and Gu a favor, and the reward should certainly not be less. Yes, young mistress. Uncle Lai nodded. Yellow Hair chuckled, rubbing his hands together. Thank you, milady. No, thank you, Miss Qin. Holding the 100,000 yuan check, Yellow Hair's eyes were practically popping out. He had never seen so much money in his life, all contained on this single piece of paper. From now on, when he ate instant noodles, he would definitely add 2 sausages. Yellow Hair quickly took out an old, worn business card and handed it to Qin Yue. Miss Qin, if there are any similar jobs in the future, please be sure to notify me. Gao and I will go through fire and water for Miss Qin no matter what. Yellow Hair spoke with great enthusiasm. All right, that's enough from you two. Go now. Qin Yue said, though she still accepted the business card. You couldn't help but smile helplessly. Even hooligans are using business cards these days? Is this Uber for fighting? Got it, Miss Qin. With that, Yellow Hair, holding the check, and Gu swaggered away. You looked at the bodyguard on the ground. How should we deal with this guy? Just leave him here. He won't die anyway. Qin Yue was still angry from what happened. Then she looked at you. You weren't scared by what just happened, were you? You scratched your head and smiled. I'm fine, as long as you're okay. Silly. With you protecting me, how could I be in danger? Qin Yue took your hand, a sparkle in her beautiful eyes. If we hadn't run into Yellow Hair and the others, my husband might have been in trouble. It was a stroke of luck. Uncle Lai looked at his young mistress, who seemed so nervous and was quite surprised. This was the first time in all these years he had seen the young mistress so worried about a man. Truly a miracle of the world. Could it be that the young mistress is in love? The butler, Uncle Li, looked at the young man named Su Mo. From the outside, he didn't look special at all. His clothes and appearance were very ordinary, and he was clearly not the son of a wealthy or high-ranking official. Yet, the young mistress was so concerned about him. Judging by their intimate behavior, it was clear that this was no longer within the scope of ordinary friendship. It seems necessary to thoroughly understand this young man's character in the future, lest the young mistress falls in love for the first time. You felt awkward under the butler Uncle Lai's continuous scrutiny, forcing a smile. However, you were starting to feel nervous. Is this old man still treating me like a suspicious person? That gaze is truly terrifying. By the way, Yue, what's your relationship with that guy named Zhang Li? You were very curious. After all, Zhang Li had claimed to be Qin Yue's legitimate fiancé. Qin Yue frowned when you asked this. It's not what he said at all. But this is a long story. It has to start 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the Qin Group suffered the biggest crisis in its history. In the past 10 years, the Qin Group had risked everything to expand its scale, emptying its assets to acquire various well-known brands. This led to rapid short-term development in the apparel industry, but also attracted exclusion and united opposition from competitors. The Qin Group, before it could gain a firm footing, was severely suppressed by multiple forces. Problems such as design plagiarism, quality rumors, listing boycotts, and headhunting frequently emerged. This led to many partners withdrawing, and even shareholders pulled out their capital for various reasons. For a time, the Qin Group became an empty shell. Even with many brands in hand, they were useless. The funds initially used for acquisitions could not be recovered, and they accumulated a huge external debt. It was at the worst point of this crisis that the Zhang family intervened. Zhang Lai's father forcibly acquired shares in the Qin Group with an investment of 500 million yuan. With this capital, the Qin Group was able to resume operations and relied on its numerous brands to redeem itself. In this way, the Qin Group's scale not only far exceeded its previous size, but also surpassed all other apparel companies in the country, becoming a leading enterprise. However, the Zhang family's capital injection also brought hidden dangers. This investment not only profited immensely for the Zhang family, but also allowed them to take advantage of the crisis, seizing most of the Qin Group's equity. They even step-by-step annexed and wooed other shareholders. Now, they have the capital to challenge the Qin Group, becoming the second largest shareholder. If it weren't for Qin Yue's father, the chairman of the Qin Group, rushing to gain the support of several old guard shareholders, The entire Qin group might have been swallowed by the Zhang family. Not only that, but the Zhang family patriarch also publicly demanded that Chairman Qin marry Qin Yue to his only son, Zhang Li, with a strong and almost non-negotiable attitude. But who was Zhang Li? A notorious rich second generation in Lanhai City. How could Chairman Qin be willing to marry his daughter to such a man? This was merely the second step in the Zhang family's plan to annex the Qin group. A superficial marriage intended to further participate in the company's management and transform the Qin group into a family-run enterprise. However, even though Chairman Qin understood this, he found it difficult to refuse due to the equity held by the Zhang family patriarch. He could only postpone the marriage again and again. If he didn't do this and forcefully rejected the marriage alliance, the consequences would be unimaginable. If your father doesn't agree, what will the Zhang family do? You couldn't help but ask with a frown. So Zhang Li's claim of being a fiancé is just wishful thinking on his part, but hearing this from Qin Yubo made it hard to accept. You hadn't expected the Zhang family to be so ambitious and engage in such opportunistic behavior. If the young mistress doesn't agree, the Zhang family will transfer their equity to someone else. Uncle Li explained on behalf of Qin Yue. Qin Yue could only nod sadly. Yes, that's exactly right. You looked puzzled after hearing this. I don't quite understand. Transferring to someone else means the Zhang family would leave the Qin group, right? That should be a good thing. You knew a little bit about equity. Transferring equity wasn't the same as withdrawing capital, and it wouldn't immediately cause a company funding crisis. So even if the Zhang family transferred their equity, what was the big deal? Classmate Sumo, you don't understand this area. At that time, no one in the entire Lanhin city dared to cooperate with our Qin group, except the Zhang family. Everyone wanted to see our family fall, let alone invest. Even this sole Zhang family came with the intention of annexing our company. If the Qin family dared to threaten us, they must have already found a transferee. Would the second new shareholder who is qualified to take charge let our Qin group off the hook? Not to mention, besides the Zhang family, there are other shareholders within the company who also want to seize this part of the equity. This is destined to be a difficult problem to solve. Qin Yue said, a cloud of worry involuntarily covering her originally beautiful face. Having been immersed in the business world since childhood, she knew that the Qin group, despite its superficial success, was actually riddled with internal and external troubles. For Lanhai City, the Qin group was a fat piece of meat on a cutting board, which everyone wanted a piece of. Those without the ability could only rely on private suppression and exclusion, and those with ability would be no more merciful than the Zhang family. These problems were only the tip of the iceberg. The Zhang family was already a parasite feeding on the Qin group. Simply put, it was difficult to get the Zhang family to leave the Qin group, but once the Zhang family transferred its equity, it would also lead to a major reshuffle of the Qin group. If more turbulence were to occur then, who knows what would happen? If it weren't for the safety of her family's corporation, Qin Yue would have torn off all pretenses with Zhang Lai long ago. She wouldn't have had to avoid him like this. This humiliation happened in her previous life, and she has to face it again this time. Qin Yue was already very annoyed. In this life, she must find a way to resolve this crisis in advance. Otherwise, this Zhang Leia would be the biggest obstacle preventing her and her husband from being together. How could it be so complicated? You finally understood what the Qin family was facing. You hadn't expected Qin Yue to also carry the burden of family secrets. Using such methods to force Qin Yue to marry him, Zhang Li was truly despicable. Is there absolutely no way to solve this, you asked again? Qin Yue frowned and thought for a moment, then nodded. Yes, but it will be very difficult. What way? You asked urgently. In response to your inquiry, Qin Yue slowly narrowed her brows. It's to get the Zhang family to voluntarily transfer the equity back to my father, essentially repurchasing the shares. But looking at the situation now, this method doesn't seem feasible. The Qin group's capital base was now strong, enough to repurchase the Zhang family's shares. But the problem was, why would the Zhang family willingly transfer them? After all, the Zhang family came with the intention of annexing the company. If they couldn't annex the Qin group, it was obvious that they wouldn't make things easy for them. Will they voluntarily transfer them to the Qin group? Although you didn't understand the specifics of how to do this, you could generally understand that the Zhang family wouldn't do so. Don't think about it for now. Classmate Sumo. Solving this problem is too distant for us right now, too unrealistic. This kind of business game involving tens of billions is not something we can play. I don't want you to worry about these things for me anyway. There will be a solution in the future. Although Qin Yue comforted you, she was actually uncertain about any good solution. She could only take things one step at a time. Seeing the lonely expression in Qin Yue's eyes, you felt a pang of sympathy. Queen Yue had stood up for you multiple times, but when she faced difficulties, you couldn't help. In such a matter, you, a penniless student, were completely helpless. If possible, you were determined to find a way to help Qin Yue resolve this problem. It seems that Zhang Li won't give up. What if he comes after you again? I'm not afraid of him. After all, he wouldn't dare do anything to me, at least not before he annexes the Qin group. Qin Yue sighed. Instead, she was more worried that Zhang Li would directly target her husband, Sumo, classmate Sumo. For your safety, why don't we go home together from now on? Qin Yue suddenly suggested. Huh? Is that appropriate? You scratched your head, your eyes darting around. Saying such a thing in front of so many Qin family people would inevitably lead to misunderstandings. Uncle Lai also spoke up at this moment. Young mistress, if you are worried about this young man's safety, please just give me the order. There's no need for you to personally accompany him. If something really goes wrong, are you suggesting that something can happen to classmate Sumo? I won't allow it. Qin Yue's beautiful eyes widened. He is very important to me, and I can't let anything happen to him. It's decided then. Very important person? Now Uncle Lai was confused. His eyes subtly glanced at you, and he secretly wondered, what kind of magic did this young man use? To make the young mistress say such a thing, you must know that she's always been proud and usually doesn't even pay attention to her father. I think Uncle Lai is right. After all, your status and mine are different. Your presence will only make it easier to cause trouble for you. It's better if I go back alone. Qin Yue's words touched you, but how could a small fry like you be worthy of the important person in Qin Yue's mouth? The more Qin Yue did this, the more pressure you felt. After all, Qin Yue was the heiress of the Qin group. If something went wrong, you couldn't afford to be responsible. Qin Yue's face couldn't hide her disappointment at this moment. Her stubborn, beautiful face looked misty-eyed. But what if Zhang Li comes looking for you? If that happens, I'll find a way to run away. It's not a big deal to be a coward. I don't need to be a hero every time, you said with a difficult smile. Besides, it's easier to run away alone than with two people, isn't it? If you're by my side, I have to worry about your safety, don't I? Although you didn't want to say this, you knew you couldn't continue to rely on Qin Yue. The days you spent with Qin Yue were happier than ever before, but they also made you realize the growing gap between the two of you. If you continue to be this close without distinction, you might gradually forget your true identity. This sweetness came too suddenly, and while it was incredibly intoxicating, it was like cotton candy. Sweet, but it melts in your mouth. Sumo was just a child from an ordinary family. How could he possibly earn the favor of a privileged woman? Okay, I understand. Qin Yue managed to smile. But even if we don't do it later, we can tonight, right? Let Uncle Li take you home. You looked at the luxurious Mercedes-Benz cars. Okay, fine. The next morning, as soon as you arrived in the classroom, you were once again surrounded by gazes. This time, however, the looks were different and a little strange. You found a seat and sat down, then heard people around you discussing things. Look, it's Sumo. He's a celebrity now. Indeed, stealing the heart of the campus flower and beating up a thug, everyone knows him now. I thought this kid was so ordinary before. I didn't expect him to be so amazing. I'm so jealous. You shook your head and smiled helplessly at these discussions. It seemed that the whole academy knew about the basketball game incident, and you had become a school celebrity overnight. You were really not used to it. Hey, brother, how about this job? At this moment, He Weihang suddenly walked over, holding a piece of paper, and read aloud. Seeking a child with generous compensation. Chen Huan, 30 years old, curvy and charming. Her husband is a... Before He Weihang could finish, you snatched the paper from his hand. What are you messing around with? Didn't I tell you not to find me weird stuff? Now you're even bringing me seeking a child with generous compensation ads? He Weihang sighed, shaking his head. I didn't even dare go to the interview myself. I was saving it for you. By the way, How did the job search go last night? Yang Qi asked from behind you. Little Fatty, who was next to him, chimed in. Yeah, didn't you go job hunting yesterday? Did it go well? You laughed. It went well enough. I've joined Linghu as a part-time salesperson. Linghu? He Weihang and the other two exclaimed in surprise. Why, yes I did, you replied with an awkward smile. He Weihang looked at you in shock. Wow, brother, you actually got in. I thought Linghu Trendy wouldn't hire part-time employees. It's a miracle. You were at a loss for how to explain. After all, saying yes wasn't entirely true, and saying no wasn't either. Ultimately, it was because of Qin Yue, the diamond VIP of the Linghu store, that you managed to secure this part-time job. However, Little Fatty then asked, then the salary and benefits must be great, right? How is the pay calculated? It's based on work hours. 300 an hour. 300! He Weihang and the other two gasped. This isn't finding a job. This is finding a golden baby. Hearing your words, He Weihang reached out and touched your forehead. What are you doing? You asked, raising an eyebrow. He Weihang shook his head with a serious expression. Brother, your condition is serious. You're starting to talk nonsense. Did the people at the Linghu store hit you too hard? Did you really get into Linghu? Get lost! You snapped, annoyed. I'm not lying to you guys. Although I didn't believe it at first either. That's really what they said. I wouldn't lie to the three of you. 300 yuan! Heavens! Where can you find a part-time job with such high pay? He Weihang's eyes widened. He wanted to believe Sumo, but the hourly wage was just too high. Who would believe it? Is Linghu Trendy so willful with their pricing? Even Little Fatty, the one who recommended the job, didn't expect it to be this high. Yang Qi was also astonished. That's almost as much as I collect in protection fees. Brother, if you get rich, you have to take me with you. He Weihang quickly buttered you up. Does the store still hire part-timers? Look at me. I'm a strong, strapping young man. I can surely get in, right? You rubbed your forehead. What does this have to do with being strong? Let's talk about this another day. I haven't even officially started working yet. I hope this job lasts long. After all, a job paying 300 an hour is hard to find. While the four of you were discussing, you heard gasps from others. It's Senior Ji-Yu. Why is Senior Ji-Yu Qinghan here in our class? Did she go to the wrong room? Your heart sank, and you looked toward the classroom entrance. Ji-Yu Qinghan peeked her head in, her beautiful face looking around as if searching for someone. Just then, she flashed a lovely smile. Excuse me, is Junior Sumo here? As expected? You felt your head spin. Why did this woman come looking for me? Everyone was stunned by Ji-Yu Qinghan's words. He Weihang looked at you and shouted in surprise, "Bee, brother! Senior Qinghan is looking for you!" You quickly made a shushing gesture. Oh, there you are! Ji-Yu Qinghan looked toward you when she heard the sound, and her smile grew brighter when she saw you. The next moment, Ji-Yu Qinghan took a long stride, her hands clasped behind her back, and walked toward you. The male students all looked at you in amazement. What is going on with this kid? Not only is campus flower Qin Yue being ambiguous with him, but now Ji-Yu Qinghan is here too. This is the previous generation campus flower and a notorious beauty on campus. In the envious and jealous gazes of the single men, Ji-Yu Qinghan arrived at your desk. You looked up and forced a stiff smile. Morning, Senior Qinghan. Are you looking for me? Yes, I am. I hope I'm not disturbing you, Ji-Yu Qinghan said softly with a smile. He, Weihang, Yang Qi, and Little Fatty stared in astonishment. These two have been acting weird recently. You felt a little nervous. No, not at all. But Senior Qinghan, what do you need me for? Oh, I came to promote our relationship. Ji-Yu Qinghan smiled slightly and then spoke. Wah. Senior Qinghan is so direct. Everyone looked at you with astonished eyes. What is the relationship between this guy and Senior Qinghan? Could it be that this kid is two-timing and dumped the goddess Qin Yue? Seeing the strange looks from everyone, you blushed and quickly said, Senior Qinghan, please don't tease me. What kind of relationship do we need to promote? Ji-Yu Qinghan's words were too easily misunderstood. If you didn't clarify this, who knows what others would think of you? Ji-Yu Qinghan let out a clear laugh. Of course, it's a friendship. Did you think it was a romantic relationship? Oh, of course not. You felt a little awkward from her question. Although you didn't think that, with so many people around, others might not feel the same way. He Weihang felt that the relationship between you and Ji-Yu Qinghan was too complicated. And when did you manage to hook up with the former campus flower Ji-Yu Ching-han? His flirting skills are incredible. If he could learn a few tricks from you, he wouldn't still be single. However, if Su-mo had provoked Ji-Yu Ching-han, what would campus flower Kim Yu-wei do? Alright, I was just joking earlier. Actually, I came because of what happened yesterday. Ji-Yu Ching-han laughed. You were puzzled. What happened? At this moment, Ji-Yu Ching-han suddenly stretched out her hands, which had been hidden behind her back, holding a small lunchbox. Then, Ji-Yu Ching-tan said, I accidentally hurt you at the auditorium yesterday. This is my compensation for you, Junior. Wei Hong raised an eyebrow. The auditorium? Isn't that a place no one usually goes to? And what does hurt you mean? Did something happen between the two of them? Compensation? You were stunned, then flattered. Senior Ching-han, you're making too much of it. It was just an accidental bump. There's no need for such exaggerated compensation. Please take it back. Ji-Yu Ching-han frowned when she heard this. It seems Junior Sumo doesn't intend to be friends with me, does he? Of course, Junior Sumo, you have such a beautiful girlfriend. She must often cook delicious food for you. You don't need the concern of an outsider like me. Since that's the case, I'll take back this lunchbox I painstakingly made last night. With that, Ji-Yu Ching-han made to turn and leave. Seeing this, everyone mentally cursed Sumo for speaking so heartlessly. That's Senior Ching-han's love lunchbox. Other men would beg for that. This kid is so ungrateful. The boys all felt sorry for Ji-Yu Ching-han, whose kind intentions were being taken for granted. If that lunchbox were given to them, they would definitely lick the plate clean. You felt a little guilty at this moment. Did Senior Ching-han really spend all night making this for me? If so, what you just said seemed a little too harsh. Wait a moment, Senior Ching. Your voice suddenly came from behind her. Ji-Yu Ching-han subtly curled the corner of her mouth, and when she turned around, she frowned. What is it, Junior Sumo? You hesitated. Since it's Senior Ching-han's kind gesture, I'll accept it. I didn't mean anything else earlier. I just thought it wasn't a big deal. Senior Ching-han, please don't misunderstand. Hearing this, Ji-Yu Ching-han quickly smiled brightly. Really? Ji-Yu Ching-han returned to your side and placed the lunchbox down. Quote, since that's the case, please accept my love lunchbox. Junior Sumo, you must finish it right now. You were startled. Right now? Yes, right now. Ji-Yu Ching-han pouted slightly, looking displeased. Otherwise, what if you wait until I'm gone and give it to someone else? I made this love lunchbox only for you. I also want to hear your feedback. Wei Hong and the others gasped. This blatant favoritism, why does it seem so familiar? This kid Sumo is so lucky. Wei Hong's eyes scanned Ji-Yu Ching-han's figure. Tisk, tisk. Countless tiny people instantly appeared in his mind, vigorously doing push-ups. She could be the heroine of a certain video. Truly enviable, jealous, and hateful. You felt awkward. Senior Ching-han's kindness to you was too sudden. You had only just met yesterday. This kind of sudden closeness felt very uncomfortable for someone like you, who was slow to warm up. What's wrong, Junior Sumo? Are you shy? Ji-Yu Ching-han looked at you with a beaming smile. Why don't you just leave the lunchbox here, Senior Ching-han? I'll eat it when I have time, you said with an awkward smile. Eating Senior Ching-han's love lunchbox in front of so many people felt too embarrassing. This feeling of public execution was not good. Quote, but I have to take the lunchbox back later. Ji-Yu Ching-han frowned, looking a little troubled. How about this? I'll feed you, Junior Sumo. That way, you won't feel awkward. With that, Ji-Yu Ching-han personally opened the lunchbox. You and the others immediately felt the burning gazes shooting your way. This was incredible. Feeding. Isn't that something only couples do? As the lunchbox was opened, a savory aroma spread out. It was a bowl of steaming hot seafood spaghetti. What kind of noodles is that? It smells so good. I want to eat Senior Ching-han's lunchbox too. Senior Ching-han is truly skilled both in the hall and in the kitchen. Hearing the praise from the crowd, Ji-Yu Ching-han's lips curved slightly, and a hint of cunning flashed in her eyes. Then Ji-Yu Ching-han asked happily, how is it, Junior Sumo? Is it to your liking? Gee, good, you replied, scratching your head with a smile. Since that's the case, eat it while it's hot. Ji-Yu Ching-han picked up the chopsticks, grabbed a few strands of noodles, gently blew on them with her red lips, and then brought them to your mouth. Senior Ching-han, I'll do it myself. Don't be shy, Junior. Be a good boy. Looking at the noodles so close, your face was flushed red, especially under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Sweat was starting to bead on your forehead. The students' gazes felt murderous. This guy. Not only is campus flower Chin Yue good to him, but even senior Ching Han dotes on him. Did God get severe myopia? Why does Sumo get all the good things, not caring about the feelings of us single guys? Senior GU, I'll do it myself. You quickly snatched the chopsticks and rapidly shoveled a mouthful of noodles. GU Chinghan looked at you with a delighted smile. Are my noodles delicious, Junior Sumo? GU Chinghan's face was flushed, and she bit her lip, her eyes full of expectation. You forced a smile. Very delicious. If it's delicious, then please eat more, Junior. GU Chinghan smiled and grabbed more noodles to feed you. You inhaled sharply, subconsciously leaning your neck back. But I'm full already, Senior Chinghan. I don't think... No! She finally got to make him noodles to show her love. Who knows when she'll get another chance to make him love noodles? Your heart was collapsing. Heavens! Will someone please save me? I didn't expect you to shamelessly come and pester my classmate Sumo again, Senior GU Chinghan. Just then, a cold female voice rang out. Everyone turned around and saw that Chin Yue had appeared at the door at some point, staring coldly at the whole scene. Her eyes were filled with murderous intent. Everyone had been so focused on GU Chinghan and Sumo that no one noticed the doorway. Yue! You saw Chin Yue as if she were a savior. GU Chinghan coldly scoffed, not looking too surprised. What are you talking about, Junior? I only came to offer my apologies to Junior Sumo. Is there something wrong with that? I don't know about apologizing, but I saw you forcing classmate Sumo to eat noodles. Qin Yue walked up to GU Chinghan, looking furious. I ask you to restrain yourself, Senior Chinghan. Everyone was stunned. The two great campus beauties are fighting over Sumo. Yue couldn't help but shrink his neck. The energy of sister-in-law is truly amazing. Looks like brother is in for a hard time now. Junior, you are exaggerating a little, aren't you? GU Chinghan smiled faintly without warmth. Look, classmate Sumo is eating happily. Where does it look like I'm forcing him? Is that so? Jin Yue looked at you with a puffed-up cheek. Classmate Sumo, were you really not forced? You gave a difficult smile. Forced? Not exactly. See, Junior? I wasn't wrong, was I? Just as GU Chinghan was feeling smug, you suddenly spoke again. But I actually don't like seafood, Senior Chinghan. So next time, you don't have to trouble yourself to make noodles for me. You smiled sheepishly. Junior. GU Chinghan hadn't expected you to add that. This time, it was Chin Yue's turn to be smug. Did you hear that, Senior? Classmate Sumo doesn't like seafood noodles. If you want to win his favor, I suggest you do some homework first and find out what classmate Sumo really likes to eat. Otherwise, you'll only bring humiliation upon yourself. Shin Yue placed great emphasis on the final words. GU Chinghan secretly gritted her teeth when she heard this. This bitch, she can't get Sumo either, yet she pretends to understand him so well. Besides, if she weren't trying to compete with Chin Yue, why would she bother trying to please this silly boy Sumo? Don't worry, Junior. Next time, I will definitely find out Junior Sumo's preferences before coming. GU Chinghan said with a look of suppressed anger, gritting her teeth. Then she coldly snorted and left without looking back. Qin Yue waved. Bye-bye, Senior. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Everyone felt the atmosphere was heavy with tension. The battle between women is terrifying. You felt a little awkward. What you just did seemed a little heartless. After all, Senior Chinghan didn't have any malicious intent toward you. However, what you said was the truth. You generally didn't eat seafood, so you didn't deliberately say that to GU Chinghan just to cater to Chin Yue and deliberately embarrass her. You sighed helplessly. Turns out being popular can also be a headache. Trying to snatch classmate Sumo from me? Dream on. Chin Yue coldly snorted, immediately feeling much better. However, she found it strange. Why did this GU Chinghan suddenly take an interest in her husband? That woman has always been involved with the handsome guys on campus, hasn't she? Her husband shouldn't fit her aesthetic. The more Chin Yue thought about it, the more she felt something was off. It seems I need to investigate when I get the chance. Yue, what are you holding? You suddenly asked. Qin Yue was also holding a lunchbox in her hand. Seeing that you had noticed, Qin Yue stuck out her tongue mischievously. You found me out! This is the breakfast lunchbox I made for classmate Sumo. I think you'll like it. With that, Qin Yue sat next to you and pushed the lunchbox in front of you. Classmate Sumo, hurry and open it to take a look. Because of what happened last night, Qin Yue noticed you seemed troubled. The Zhongli incident was ultimately caused by her, so Qin Yue made a special lunchbox at home to show her apology and let her husband try it, making up for her guilt. She just hadn't expected that woman, Jiyu Qinghan, to beat her to it. Fortunately, it seemed she hadn't gained any advantage. It's for me? You were surprised and flattered. What is it with today? 2 beautiful girls are competing to bring me lunchboxes? This is something I couldn't have imagined in the past. It's so strange. Yes, what else? Qin Yue looked at you with a happy expression and slowly said, Classmate Sumo, you probably haven't had breakfast yet, right? Skipping breakfast is bad for your health. Thank you, Yue. Your cheeks were slightly red. You opened Qin Yue's lunchbox, and what greeted your eyes were several cute and exquisite cartoon rice balls. Each rice ball had different fillings, pork floss and eel, looking very appetizing. Quote, although they're a little ugly, I think they should be tasty. Qin Yue was actually a little shy at this moment, her face flushed. She seemed a little embarrassed to be stared at so intently by Sumo while he looked at the lunchbox she made. Quote, how could they be? They look very nice. You suppressed your emotion and asked, I actually really like eating rice balls. Qin Yue propped up her small chin and smiled sweetly. Of course I know. In her previous life, her husband Sumo often traveled to various places for exhibitions. Worried that Sumo wouldn't eat well outside, the heiress Qin Yue personally made his lunchboxes, so she naturally knew what Sumo liked and disliked. How do you know? You were a little curious. Qin Yue twirled her pretty eyes. Quote, it's a secret. I'll tell you later. Another secret. You gave a wry smile. Qin Yue had too many secrets. She not only understood you, but she also knew many things you hadn't even realized yourself. She was like a worm in your stomach. If you didn't know better, you'd think you were a couple in a past life. Brother, you are too lucky. Wei Hang leaned over. Seeing the lunchbox Qin Yue made for Sumo, his mouth was practically watering onto the floor. Sister-in-law, how did you know I also like eating rice balls? Go away! Go away! This is for classmate Sumo. Qin Yue looked at him with a disgusted expression. She didn't care what others liked. It was enough, as long as her husband liked it. Wei Hang sighed, speaking sarcastically. Ah, it's true that comparison is the thief of joy. Some people get no warmth and no one cares about them, while others are full from eating 2 lunchboxes. You smiled helplessly. Since you need warmth so much, I'll give you this lunchbox. Let Senior Qinghan warm you up. Qin Yue coldly snorted and handed Jiyu Qinghan's lunchbox to Wei Hang, glad to get rid of the eyesore. Wei Hang didn't hesitate and snatched it immediately. If there was food, he'd eat it. It was better than having nothing to eat. This was a lunchbox made by a great beauty. Wei Hang wouldn't be picky, unlike Brother, who doesn't know how to enjoy himself. Oh my god, it smells so good! All right, classmate Sumo, eat it while it's hot. Qin Yue urged you, her beautiful eyes full of expectation. Okay, you nodded. You then picked up the chopsticks, grabbed an eel rice ball, and put it in your mouth. An aroma immediately burst into your mouth. At that moment, your eyes widened. So good! Qin Yue chuckled at the sight. Her husband's current expression was exactly the same as the first time he ate her cooking in their previous life. He was so adorable. I didn't expect, Yue, that your lunchboxes would be so delicious. This truly surprised you. Didn't people say that a wealthy young lady wouldn't lift a finger? Yet Qin Yue's cooking was so tasty, it felt like a professional Japanese chef couldn't do any better. Although you hadn't eaten much professional Japanese cuisine, this rice ball was the best rice ball in the world to you. It's good as long as classmate Sumo likes it, Qin Yue said happily. Seeing her husband like her cooking so much made her happy too. Her cooking skills were entirely developed from making lunch boxes for Sumo in her previous life. Of course, it suited Sumo's taste. You couldn't stop yourself and ate a few more pieces, feeling like you were in heaven. As you ate, you noticed Chinyue propping up her chin and watching you with a gaze full of happiness. You couldn't help but feel a little awkward. Yue, why don't you try some of your own cooking too? It's really delicious. Okay, but Chinyue suddenly thought of something and smiled meaningfully. Only if classmate Sumo feeds me. Feed you? You were stunned. With so many people watching, isn't Chinyue creating too many enemies?